ClevelandMoto Podcast. We are running, and we're golden. I don't have even any rocks. I'm just straight meat.
Oh, God. Bourbon, yeah. That's unnecessary. Who did it?
Ooh.
Oh, thank you, Smith.
There you go. Well done.
Always, and, Smith. Always.
Welcome to podcast number 298.
298.
Wow.
We're getting there.
300. Yeah, it's very close.
I've had several people hit me up that are willing to drive 7+ hours to make it here for the 300th podcast.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Dan from Cincy, a couple other guys, like they're like, "Hey, what are you guys doing for the 300th?" I'm like, "I don't know. Phil hasn't mentioned anything. We'll drive up, man.
We should.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll make a party.
I don't even know if I'll be here.
Who knows what we'll have going on by then? And to my immediate left,
Chris Smith.
and to his,
You better. You should probably should.
and to his.
Steve Hoffert.
Thank you very much. And
Johnny Mac.
I was waiting for that perfect moment when you had that bottle up. That
Thank
was
you.
great.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
And to his left,
Nick Devitto.
and
Steve Sleepy.
and your humble narrator, Phil Waters, got back into town this morning at 0600.
Woof. Impressive.
I woke up yesterday in a little town called Fargo, North Dakota.
No shit.
Wow.
And so I drove from Fargo to here in one setting. It's far. I mean, that's a hike. And had to stop in Minneapolis to pick a bike up. And so I stopped in Minneapolis, and then the goal was I despise Chicago traffic. So no matter what happens, I don't like driving in Chicago traffic.
And no matter which way you go, you got
It's always
Chicago
bad.
traffic.
Yeah, it's always bad. And so for me, it was a life goal to make sure that I could not experience Chicago traffic. So I had to time my trip out so that I left Minneapolis at about 4 or 5 p.m. And then there's time changes in there too, because when you're in Fargo, you got like 2 time zones. You're 2 time zones away from Cleveland. So all that beautiful time you picked up heading west, you're now giving it all back as you head east. So that was a tough one. And on this trip, I did 6,273 miles. So this is a pretty good trip. So I did Cleveland to Phoenix, and then Phoenix up to Glacier National Park, and then Glacier National Park to Minneapolis, and then Minneapolis to Cleveland.
It looked amazing. Man.
It was a great trip.
So what time of the day did you go through Chicago?
Midnight. Perfect. So yeah, perfect time. So I never dropped below 70 miles an hour.
Nice.
So from, you get into that, the traffic, the Dan Ryan and all that crap, 94 going into Chicago, and I was just 70 to 85 miles an hour the
That's
whole way.
amazing, because usually you go through Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
Then you hit you can start to see the city, and you get all excited, and then it's like boom, 2 hours of
you're
traffic
fucked.
just sitting.
And this was just flying. And I mean, I was flying. And the funny thing is, I'm doing this trip in a Ford Econoline 350 with all the seats taken out. So I got a mattress on the floor, and I've got room in the back for a motorcycle, and then I got a VersaHaul with me in case I got another one, right? And the first 2 nights on my trip, I was like, I'm just going to sleep in the van. There's no reason for me to get a hotel room. And I did. And the first 2 nights were just amazing, so good. And it's the right temperature. It's the end of September. So
you
perfect out.
were just boondocking, find a place, park.
Yeah. And that's what it did. I was boondocking, and I got to set up at some gorgeous spots. There's a place called Marble Canyon. It's right by the Navajo River, and there's a Navajo Bridge. And you cross, and you're heading northbound on Route 89, and you go past that Navajo Bridge. You'll know you're there because it's the only bridge. You're going over a crevasse that's like part of the Grand Canyon network of stuff. Navajo River's big. And then you go over this river, and then you hook a left, and right there is just a wall of this amazing multicolored rock. It's just beautiful. And you could park 20 18-wheelers there, just where the road curves, and the river's there. And I pulled the van in, had this amazing wall of color behind me, and just that was my room for the night.
That's just open parking there?
Yeah, open parking, wide open. And there could have been any number of us camped out there, and nobody would have said boo, because there's just nothing there. It's just next to the road.
Where were you when 4-wheelers were blowing by on the street?
So that was when I had made it to Great Falls.
Okay.
So that was all the way up in Great Falls, Montana. And in Montana, you can get a license plate. It's a motorcycle plate for the back of your quad. And they don't give a shit what tires you're running. They don't give a shit how big it is or nothing.
Really?
And nobody's wearing a helmet.
Yeah, I saw
people are
that.
wearing flip-flops. And when you go downtown to Target or Walmart or something, there's 20 or 30 quads in the parking lot. So a quad there is just a car. It's just a motorcycle or whatever. And it is tough to get used to it because you're riding along and a quad will pass you.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not on street tires. They're on just these big, dumb, you know, mostly, honestly, they're mostly worn out knobbies.
Right.
Because people are using them on the street more than they're using them in the woods.
Right.
And I couldn't tell whether, like, in Ohio, we have farm plates, and you can get a farm plate on virtually anything and ride it into town. Well, I couldn't tell if these were farm plates or if they're just laws or just that way about having quads. Like, they're just totally okay with, hey, you got to go to town somehow.
Well, if you think about it, there's probably enough people doing it no matter what.
Right.
But they're like, we at least should get some money for this.
Yeah, I think you're right.
know,
Right. And it is predominantly farmland around there anyway, so that's the vast majority of it. These farms are bigger than you can fucking imagine.
And Montana also believes in freedom.
I'm sorry. You're interrupted. Hayabusa and all of its followers. Yeah. And it's Hayabusa offspring.
Yeah, the children.
Yeah. So what were you saying, Steve?
I said maybe Montana just believes in personal freedom.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a big part of it too. I'm roaming as I'm barreling through to get to Glacier National Park. I see this pickup truck on the side of the road. He's obviously fucking around with a gate, and there's maybe 200 head of buffalo, right? And I was like, oh, photo op. I got to go get a picture of these buffalo. And as I pull up, this young guy, you know, works on the farm. It's just one of these gates that's basically barbed wire with like a couple of sticks in it. And he just moves the gate out of the way, pulls the truck out, and off he fucks, right? But he leaves the gate open. He left the gate open. I'm sitting there with my Forticon line van, and then to my right, not 50 to 100 feet away, are the beginnings of a herd of at least a couple of hundred buffalo. Now, I don't know if these buffalo are so trained that they don't leave the fucking gate, or I don't know if he just took them out a bunch of hay or grain, and that's where they're not going to leave that for the world.
Right.
But the dude just drove away from an open gate. Like it was too much hassle to put the gate back up again. And he fucked off to where the farm buildings were across 89. I was like, far be it from me to get involved with the man's farming. You know, I'm no master of animal husbandry, but it does seem to me that open gates is how livestock ends up where it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And no less than 5 times on this trip did I come around a corner at 80 miles an hour, because Montana's 80 miles an hour.
Right. Well, they have a speed limit
on the 2-lane roads.
They used to have not a speed limit, right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so even on the 2-lane roads, it's 70 or 80 miles an hour. And I come around the corner and find a cow. It's not supposed to be there. If the cows are in the road, that means somebody didn't do their job right. And it's like not one cow. There's 9 or 10 or 12
The
cows.
cows are in the road. Where are the cars?
Where are the cars? Right.
Well, was the cow driving a car?
No.
Okay,
Pretty much just
standing there.
being a cow.
Okay.
But that was a weird thing too. And many times I took some pictures of signs that said open range, be cautious of animals on the road. Now that was predominantly in Utah, where I'd see these open range signs. So Utah's a little different. Utah's not really all farmlands. Utah's mostly high desert.
What was the other sign? Bobcat crossing or something?
Fuck yeah. Puma crossing. It was a Huron puma. There was no, it's not a bobcat. It was the silhouette that people get tattooed on their bicep. And it was like, when I saw the sign at first, I was like, I wonder if some fucking Jersey boy is going to walk out with a bicep tattoo of a puma, you know? But yeah, that was in Grand Canyon National Park. They had a sign for puma crossing. And
Pumas are 40-year-olds before they turn into cougars.
they're not quite cougars yet. Yeah, I think you're right. The wildlife, though, the amount of stuff, I sent some video out of mama bear and her 2 baby bears coming up to the cars begging.
That was beautiful.
And that was that was amazing. And that was in Glacier National Park. Oh yeah, there you go. There's some livestock crossing the road.
In New York.
Yeah, exactly. Just cows wandering around the fucking road. Yeah. And it just seems like there's an inherent value to a cow, like it's worth money. So it seems like somebody would be interested in keeping it.
Yeah.
That's like 1,000 pounds of meat right there.
Exactly. So you'd think that you would have a value to that, and it would be smart to not let it be out getting hit by cars. Because I'm pretty sure if it gets hit by a car, the value for the cow has gone down dramatically.
No, they have to get rid of it. They can't sell it.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of, a lot of weird things on the trip and a lot of fun stuff. But absolutely, we were talking about Jerome earlier in Arizona. It's a mining town built on the side of a hill or side of a mountain. And the roads getting up to it are just perfect switchbacks. And at the end of day 1 of the actual trip, I'm doing this recon for a road race or a road scavenger hunt we're doing called the 89 Grand Caravan. And at the end of day 1, between Arizona and Flagstaff, you're just like, fuck the Dragon. You know, the Dragon is basically a place where people go and overpopulate or overcrowd a twisty road. I drove many roads getting from Phoenix to Flagstaff that would make they just embarrass the shit out of the Dragon. So we have more bottles of liquor showing up thanks to Chris. All kinds of good stuff. And I'm drinking the Old Forester right now, so that's
100 proof. What it is, but you know what? I can tell that it hasn't been on a boat, and that's very disappointing. So I can't wait to try this other one, which has been on a boat.
Yeah, that is the Old Forester is really good for 100 proof bourbon. That is delightful.
It is.
It is smooth. So it's great. So I do recommend everybody take that Route 89 or 89 Alpha. So like 89 is like the route name, and then when they paved it and they made the route better, the old road got called 89 Alpha. So like the old road that's twisty and complicated. So anytime you're looking at a map and you have your choice between 89 and 89 Alpha, take 89 Alpha, always.
Is it A or is it actually Alpha?
It's A.
Okay.
It's A. So yeah, 89A is the road you want to take because it's going to be better every single time. Now, here's the weird thing about traveling during Corona. As you guys know from my previous trips, a big part of my trip is I always try to find an amazing restaurant to eat in, an amazing bar to drink in every single night.
Right.
That's how I shut down. And when you're not doing that, you move a lot faster, right? So you're not like getting off the road at 6 p.m. and bedding down or getting your place picked out for your meals and stuff. So when you don't want to do that, the only bar I went to was the Undertow, which you should look that up. That's in Phoenix. And I did that because that is a once in a lifetime experience. You have to go to that bar. The bar is a story. And so the chapters in the book is written, and then every so often they change the interior of the bar to match the story. And the story is you're in the bowels of a ship. You're in a ship, and as the ship moves along, the adventures you encounter change the chapters of the book.
That's awesome.
And then the drinks match the adventures you're having. And then the portholes are all rigged with video monitors. And it's all done by a high-end video game designer who then writes the story. And it's a 1.5 hour seating. So when you sit down, you have a time that you have to be there by. And you get there on time. And then when you sit down, the story starts.
That's great.
And you're reading along in the story, and there's adventures, and the ship gets caught in the ice, or savages attack your ship, and there's spears and arrows and shit coming at the ship, and the sound effects are the crew dealing with that.
Wow.
And the music is consistent with what you're seeing. So you're in the belly of this ship.
So when you're there, say you're having a couple cocktails, and you're like, you know what, I'd like 3 more, but your hour's up. Did they boot you?
Yeah, they boot you. Hour and a half. Yeah, you're out.
Wow. So this is a destination.
Is there a cover charge to get in?
No, there isn't. Now, right now, they'll charge you $25 to book your table because of COVID. They're having so few people in the bar, and the bar is small to begin with. Yeah. So your booking is $25, but that comes off your bill. So you're putting $25 up in earnest so that you're going to show up and you're not going to stiff them on the table. But the way it is you literally get like a 7 o'clock seating. You're going to be there at 7 because that show's starting for the other people that are there. If you're not there, fuck you. And if you're there early, they let you in. There's some tiki music playing or whatever, Polynesian music, and serve you drinks and whatever. And the bartenders are all amazing, and the drinks are complicated and exotic, like I like them. So it's great.
But that whole thing that you just done, that's amazing. Like that's really, really cool.
And then they changed the chapters, so you can read the whole book. But just know that, like when Renee and I were there last year to pick up that van, we went there for chapter 6.
Okay.
And it's an inland river, and you're being attacked by people in the river. I was there for this year's chapter 7, and they're heading to the South Pole, and they get stuck in the ice, and the ship gets stuck in the ice, and they got to use dynamite to blast the ship out of the ice, and a volcano erupts and melts all the ice, and you got to get out before the volcano attacks your boat.
That's very good.
Yeah, no shit, right? And it's truly adventure.
Antarctic
So in some way, you're always being attacked by someone or something.
Well, you have to make the most of the portholes. Now, this is where the portholes become really important. Yeah. There's 2 on each side. Anyway, but here's why. Because the building is a coffee shop that used to be a garage, a 2-bay mechanical garage, like a gas station. The grease pit under the garage is where the bar is.
Oh, wow.
So you walk down the stairs into the grease pit, and the grease pit they've turned into this boat.
can you imagine like how much work it took to get that approved
I can't
by the
even
health
imagine.
department?
I cannot even imagine.
Like hazmat or not hazmat? What do you call it? The environmental people had
The
to like.
place is called Undertow, and you should look it up. It's really, really special.
That's awesome.
Now, what they're doing is right now they're building another a better, bigger one, because this can only put like 18 people in it, 20
Right.
people in it. So they're building a better one right now, but they're not closing this one while they're building the other one. So that's great. And the whole idea of you can now, normally when you go there, when it's not COVID, they hand you a book, and the book has it's bound in wood, and you open it up and it has your drink menu in it, but it also has the chapters. So you can read along and you can go along with the story as you're drinking. And by the time you're done, you've had the whole chapter. Now there's 40 drinks. You don't have to drink this or that, but every time the chapter changes, the drink menu changes too. So it's really great.
So do they have anything for like somebody like Smith who can't read?
Yeah.
Do they have something that he could?
Well, so now what they do is
Braille.
So now it's all on your phone. So when you sit down, they give you a QR code, and you just hit the QR code with your phone, and then it brings the file up, and then you can read it in your phone, and then you get the menu there too, so you can kind of go through there, and you don't have to touch anything paper that other people have touched.
So I just have it play back to me through my.
It's literally playback. Yeah, that's all it would do. But
He just
You do
watches
the-
Barney while
he does
everybody
the-
else
he
is
does
watching
the-
the story.
He does the headphone tour with the Shirley Temple. Just sitting there.
nice.
It's like,
Well, here's an interesting thing: is it was 110 degrees in Phoenix that day, end of September, heat wave. And 110 degrees in Phoenix, and due to the chapter being a chap trapped in the ice, they are pumping in fog and ice cold air. So you're down there, and they got fake snow on everything. All the portholes are covered in fake snow, and the portholes ice up. When your ship gets stuck in the ice, the portholes ice up.
wow.
It's amazing. The effects in there are brilliant. It's a really good experience for an hour and a half. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll pay twice. Give me 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because 3 drinks in an hour and a half is pretty much you're on target.
Yeah.
And I left there after 3 of these drinks. I left there and I was in bad shape. Yeah. I left there. I would say I wasn't in bad shape. I was in great shape.
Yeah.
And so Ashley, my bartender, I asked her, I was like, well, so where does one go when it's 8:30 p.m.
And
you're half loaded? And she's like, well, you just make a left and you go to a bar called Little Woody's.
okay.
And it's basically it's a beaver themed bar, for lack of a better term. And turns out that was the right place to go, because I was already cruising at a nice high altitude. I'd gotten my wings, and I went into Little Woody's, and their menu is like extremely carb heavy. There's like 9 different kinds of macaroni and cheese and all, and I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah. Soak that up.
Soak it up real good. So I went into Little Woody's after that, and then by the time I have, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, I have no idea how I got back to my hotel.
That's fine.
Absolutely not. Somebody was
Totally fine.
Apparently, I called an Uber and they came and drove my van back to my hotel, because that would be the responsible thing for it to happen. Because I woke up and the van was there. So that Uber driver must have literally left his car there and drove my van back for me.
I'm just really.
Got an Uber and went back to his Uber.
Yeah, you got an Uber and went back to that one. Yeah.
That's service.
I'm just really impressed that they're using that much technology in a bar.
In a bar that's
awesome.
a basement. There used to be a grease pit,
Yeah.
right? So it does get reviewed as one of the best tiki bars in America, and it does earn it. Because they do a similar thing at Trader Sam's in Disney, but this takes away the Disney element.
Yeah.
And it's very cool. It's got to be one of the best places in the world to take a date, because you can't take anybody there and not have them be impressed.
Right.
Yeah. Your score goes up real high.
You kind of hit on something, though. I think we should all just pull our money and open up a booze-themed amusement park once COVID's over. Like all the rides and everything have everything to do with different boozes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because the tequila ride's going to be real popular, whatever that is.
That's the spinny one.
Yeah, the cocktail shaker.
Yeah.
You get to drink from the fire hose.
What is that from?
I forget. Simpsons or something.
Yeah.
It is a movie thing, yeah.
Yeah. Here's a beer. The beer one will just be fire hoses. Here. Wow.
Can I have the boat bourbon, please?
The boat bourbon.
I know that I'm able to tell that this was on a boat. That's the whole point.
So
of it.
somebody tell the podcast listeners about this bourbon.
Because Smith said he's bringing these, I looked this up. So the Jefferson's Ocean Aged at Sea is literally aged at sea. They have this stuff sitting on a boat near salt water, rocking.
What kind of boat? Is it a barge or is it?
It's like a wooden boat, I think, like a
wooden boat?
a tall ship or something. I think.
It's an ocean
Tall shit.
Yeah, that's what they call them.
Ocean
The tall
going-
ship, right?
vessel.
What?
Yeah, so it's a Chinese freighter.
I think it's just the ballast in the bottom of the Queen Mary that's parked out off of L.A.
Well, I've heard
It's just-
I've heard of people, like particularly with wines and stuff, where they're like lake wines, where they actually submerge. They put them at the bottom of a lake, and because of the controlled temperature and the lack of light, and just various
The immense
different-
pressure.
Yeah, there's just lots of reasons why. For some reason,
Is it
that's
salty.
Isn't that
It is. You can tell it's on a boat,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
I'm telling you. You can totally.
The bilge.
Yeah.
It'll be all
Tastes
about
like
the
an
bilge
old
later.
potato.
An apple barrel.
It's got a nice salty dog aftertaste. It's good.
Nice.
No, it's
Excellent.
good. It is good.
So would anyone like to guess by far and away the number one most prolific motorcycle that I saw on my trip? Now keep in mind, Arizona, Highway 89 through 5 national parks.
Well, if it's following the trend going across the country right now, it'd have to be baggers.
It is fucking baggers.
Yeah.
By
I was gonna
a
guess
long shot.
CT90s, but
Well, and I'd have to say that
I would have guessed
the-
KLR 650.
I was saying
I
the
would say
BMW
GS.
GSA would be right behind it, though.
That was exactly right.
Every dude in their fucking outfit and everything.
It was BMW adventure bikes were a close second, and a close third, KTMs.
Oh, yeah.
Camaro for
KTMs.
adventure.
Huh?
Camaro for adventure.
Man, the amount of aluminum boxes I saw was shocking.
wow.
I mean, granted, that's the place to use it.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of places where you're allowed to ride off-road. There's a lot of places where you can go have fun. There's a lot of places where they have signs that say, from this sign on, you are no longer allowed to just wander off and go ride your motorcycle any goddamn where you please. So that means from that sign earlier, that means you can just wander off and ride your motorcycle any goddamn where you please.
Wow.
That's the way I read that sign.
You're not going to hurt sand.
No, and it's just millions of acres of territory. So yeah, I was really surprised to see that, and I was looking so hard at Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and so I was like, every city I would be coming into as my next destination, I would just punch it up, and I'd be like, okay, let's take a look and see what bikes I can buy. I mean, a man with a van and a Versahol, I can buy 2 bikes, and I have money, and everything was astronomically overpriced.
Do you think it's because of COVID, or you think it's just because they're all year-round motorcycles?
No, I think it's because of COVID.
Okay.
I think it's absolutely because of COVID.
Or maybe it was just you.
Could have been.
They knew that
I
you
was
were too
coming.
happy. Oh, fuck, he's got a pocket full of
They
money.
could have known I was coming. The stuff that people were selling, I just sold a KLR here, my green KLR that had all the stuff on it. It had everything you'd ever want to put in a KLR. I sold it for $3,500.
Right.
It had 1,000 miles on it. It was the first year of the new body style. And I'm a fucking idiot because that bike everywhere else on my trip was selling for $5,500.
Wow.
That's insane.
It is insane. And
What are they new?
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the idea is that people take the new bike and put $3,000 worth of shit on it and then expect to get $3,000 out of
Well,
it.
Yeah,
and
right.
you can't get a new one anymore.
Right.
Well, no.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. And that's what I noticed. I stopped into a couple of dealerships on the way. And that's what I found. Every dealership I would popped into, there were a shortage of bikes. I went into a dealership, a dealership that set up to hold 300 motorcycles. There were 21 bikes in there. You know?
To your point, though, Kawasaki they just found patents and also things. They're releasing 2 new adventure bikes later this year.
Oh, are
Really?
they?
And the one shadow, all they showed was like a shadowy thing, and it kind of looked like the KLR fairing and stuff. And everybody's like, please don't make it look like that. It was never
It's
that
gonna,
good.
here's the thing: is it's going to be the same exact bike. It's still going to be carbureted. It's still going to be 650 cc.
It'll be the DR650 platform idea. It's like, hey, all right, we figured out a way to make it efficient. We figured out a way to make it EPA friendly.
But then they'll piss off all the off-road guys, and they'll make ABS and traction control non-turn-offable.
Non-switchable. Yeah,
So then you're on
non-switchable.
dirt, you're just like, fuck.
No,
Yeah.
but
It'll
they
be the
increased
650A.
That's right.
They increased the carb bowl. They doubled the size of the carb bowl so it could hold twice as much water.
Right.
And it comes with a nice square milk crate mount already built into
Already
the back
built
of
in.
it.
Yeah.
It already has like the diamond
receiver.
pattern.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
diamond pattern
Built
for
in.
milk
Pops
crate.
right in.
Yep. I think
Snaps on
that's
like Lego.
perfect.
They even tell you the 3 companies that make the exact crate you
Right.
want. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's freaking genius. Or just do the body work in the milk crate colors. So it's like you can come in orange, you can get in blue or
Red.
pink. Yeah, exactly, or red. What color milk crate is your KLR? Oh, there you go. But that would, I mean, if they're gonna do a new adventure bike, because it is true. I did see a shit ton of KLRs out there, and there are a couple of tour companies I saw where the tour company uses KLRs. So they do adventure tours with motorcycles, and they use KLRs. So the idea, of course, if somebody drops it, it's cheap to fix.
Yeah.
You don't even have to really fix it. Right. You know. But yeah, really, really beautiful places to ride out there. Just gorgeous. I'm glad I did the trip. So I'm going to give you guys a pro tip for anybody who would like to use the national parks, because one of the things that most people don't know about me is that I absolutely love national parks. I am goofy for national parks.
I love
right?
national
Me
parks.
too.
I love national parks, and I think that it's one of the best things our country ever did. And I love the way they're maintained. I love the way that they're promoted. And I love the idea that we can have a place that we can go. Now, recently, within the past 3 years, the price of these national parks has gone up dramatically. So it used to be $20 to get into a national park. That's a micro adjustment right there. That was totally a micro adjustment. That was a micro adjustment. Just a
But
little
it
to the left.
sounds better, dude.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. So with the national parks, it used to be like $20. Now it's $35 to get your car in.
That's worth
Really?
it.
Now,
All day long.
Now
Wow.
here we go.
We have a national park, and it's free.
It's free. A lot of them are.
Yeah, but can you imagine the upkeep of that national park?
On the ones that
It's nature. You don't need to upkeep it.
Oh boy, I'm going to tell you, if you look at Zion or you look at Yellowstone, there's a lot going on there, and charging $35 for a carload of people to come through once a year. But there is a trick. So if you're going to be doing more than one national park, it costs you $80 for a 1-year pass. So to get a 1-year pass, now in this trip, I went to 5 national parks. So
35
times
70,
5, right? So
140, 175.
Math.
So 30. Yeah, so
quick math.
35 by 5 is going to spend me down. So if I did a 1-year pass for $80, then I could have done. I mean, by the time I did my 2.5 park, it's paid for itself.
Yeah.
That's the way museums are. If you get the Natural History Museum here
Yeah.
in Cleveland,
Yep.
it's like $90 for a family, but then you can also go to Chicago and like all these other sorts of
that's cool.
things.
Yeah.
You can go to all the different.
That's a really good idea, and so that's something that I would strongly recommend to everyone.
What the heck is going on there?
Not only does he have LED on in direct configuration, which looks as Camaro as fuck, but his bike sounds like poo.
Yeah, that's not a good sounding.
That is
bike.
not a good
I don't
sounding
know what's
bike.
going on. It's like one of those hand clapper noise
Yeah,
makers.
It
I was about to
does.
say.
It sounds like shit.
Yeah.
Like that
I
guy's
think
bike.
one of his valves is slapping into something at that or something. Like,
I just think that like
Tell him to bring that over. We want to do a tech tip.
no, I think you just look at that. It sounds terrible. It sounds like a flatulent rhinoceros.
Right. I don't think I've ever.
30 sounds better.
Yeah,
I've never
no
heard anything
shit.
like that.
Wow, listen to that D-cell, man.
The diesel's great,
sounds
and it
good.
is barely running, which means all he did was he took a Japanese bike, cut the reel pipes off,
Yeah.
and put fucking downspouts from gutters on there.
maybe he's into the whole two-step thing.
Yeah, it could be.
Speaking of the national parks,
Speaking of national parks,
there's this guy named David Politis, and he has a
Colitis?
series of Politis,
yeah.
and he writes a whole series of books on how many people each year go missing in the national parks.
Oh wow.
He's a former police detective.
Wow.
And he's written, like, he does regional books and everything, but he's got a whole series of books on how the mass number of people that go missing, but
Right.
they don't keep track of who
No, they don't
who goes
keep track
missing
of you
in
at
the,
all. When you go into a national park,
It's
they
like-
don't even care. Like, get your $35, go fuck off. If your car disappears, nobody cares.
Right.
You know, if your car the only way that anybody would know you were gone is if your car was there and it was empty.
Right.
But in many of these national parks, they encourage hiking these trails that are 3 and 4 days long.
Yeah.
So there's many places where you can park your car and leave your car or sleep in your car. Tip from your Unkie Phil. Just go to the place where the overnight hikers go. And if you look on the map, on the national park map, it will tell you where the parking areas are at these trailheads for people that are going to hike off and do a 3-mile or a 3-day hike. Well, of course, they're going to be camping out in the hinterlands, but you can be camping in the parking lot.
Right.
and enjoy that and not have to get a hotel room.
Stay away from the ones that have the logo with the dead body on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what. So a lot of the adventure guys that live out there,
Yeah.
they'll always have these threads talking about like what you look for and how to survive, whatever. And they say a lot of times when they're riding, they'll come over a crest and you'll see all the hawks
vultures.
and the vultures and stuff. And they're like, it's either a person or an animal. It's going to be one of the two.
They're not there for the view.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're there for the meat.
Statistically, I think most times it's going to be an animal.
Of course.
Well, but they say so you never know, and it's like so when you see the birds, your heart
Right.
kind of goes, okay,
what are we gonna find
Yeah,
around
what are we
here?
Well, I
finding?
think Peggy was telling me about, that it's not uncommon for people just to, like, I'm done with life and walk off into the woods and take off their clothes and never come back.
There were many, many places where I could have made the wrong step and been down a 700-foot crevasse. Not even a question. Absolutely. And that's fun. I mean, that's rough and that's wild and that's great. I mean, it's cool that there's not a guardrail there. It's cool that there's not a lot going on. In Zion, 90% of people that go to Zion Park will never get out of their car. They'll
I thought you were going to say, we'll never get out of there.
I know.
They'll never get out of there. But like Zion is
It's
beautiful.
not Jurassic Park.
Right. there are tunnels cut through the mountain and the road is epic and it's just great. But 90% of the people will car in the one entrance and car out the other entrance and they're done. But yeah, I did this every
in that book series, they said that is the leading place of people disappearing, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Well,
I mean, I don't know why,
Yeah.
but they said that's like if he has an epicenter of there's like epicenters of
Yeah.
people disappearing, and that is.
Well, Zion is gorgeous, and I could totally understand why somebody would get out of their car and fuck off, but then also try to climb on one of these giant slick rocks and, look, I got this. And I'm wearing my Converse Chuck Taylors, and I just all of a sudden slide down a 300-foot rock into a crevice and
a crack.
hit my skull on somebody else's skull that fell down that same crevice.
And you have
year ago.
inexperienced grammars out there,
Yeah.
Instagrammers,
Yeah.
that they're like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to lean over this thing and take a picture.
That
and-
shit was everywhere I went.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But people putting themselves like, hey, well, back up just a little bit more, and then I can get my head in the shot with the glacier.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, it's the glacier.
Yeah.
It's miles wide. Yeah. That picture's going to look good no matter where you are.
Right.
You'll be fine. So
As long as you're not dead.
as long as you're fucking not dead,
Yeah.
right? So I really did like that. Now, here's the tech tip from your Unkie Phil. If you know a doctor, and a doctor can write you a note that says that you're disabled,
Oh,
you can get what's called an access pass. And if you work for the national parks and you are against what I'm about to put out,
sorry.
dude, this is Cleveland Moto Podcast. All right.
Turn down your volume.
Yeah. I mean,
You're rolling up on a motorcycle.
we are
and you have an
savages.
access pass.
we are savages and we sneak into mid-Ohio.
Honestly, they're stupid for not selling them.
We sneak into the IX Center, right? We sneak into places because it's sport. But if you got a letter from your doctor that said you had a disability, you can get what's called an access pass. And an access pass is the only pass for the National Park System that is a lifetime pass.
Oh.
It is literally the rest of your life. You'll never pay a penny to get into a national park. You can have up to 4 people in your car with you. And if it's a national park where you walk through a gate and you have to pay money to walk through the gate, you can have 3 people with you. So it's a lifetime pass. And now for a lot of people who use national parks a lot, like me, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because, that'd be a hell of a value there.
What's your disability today?
You know what? If I were the kind of person that would want to do that, I'm sure that I could find a doctor to write me a note that says that due to my metal leg or my plastic knees or whatever, that I've got a lifetime disability. Because I certainly do. I mean,
I have sleep apnea.
Hey, I got a
Cheetos
fake hip.
this eczema's not going to heal itself, right? So
I have a bad hip and I'm an alcoholic. Those two things usually.
those alone would do it. Yeah. So but that's an interesting thing is that for people who are disabled and they want to get this access pass, they can get in the national parks for the rest of their life. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's neat that they even have that available to you. So it's super cool. Mine has an owl on it.
Just don't take advantage of it, folks.
Yeah, don't take advantage of it. Mine has an owl on it. But just a very cool thing. And when you pass that pass, the lady in the booth is like, "Oh, this is our favorite pass. We like to see that." I was like, "Great. I don't know why you like to see that, but made me feel better." So
Yeah, good.
rock on. And but it's just that kind of a thing. They do have that. Interesting. COVID has affected the national parks. You go into the Grand Canyon National Park. If you're traveling on 89 northbound, you go into the south entrance of the national park.
And also all the bisons wearing masks is weird.
Yeah, it's weird. They're big masks out over their antlers, over their horns, yeah. But you go in the south part of the national park, and then you see the Grand Canyon, and you move along the road as you do, and go to all these different overlooks, and then you leave out the east entrance. 40 miles later, 50 miles later. So you go in the south entrance, leave out the east entrance. You get right back on 89, right? It's perfect. It's not even a detour. It's brilliant. Except for when there's COVID.
Oh.
It turns out that a great many of our national parks are adjacent to Native American reservations.
Right, and that one is.
And Native American reservations are having a real bad time with COVID right now. They're not doing as well as we are. And the national parks have, in many cases, closed some of the entrances. So, in the case of Grand Canyon National Park, I went in the south entrance out of Flagstaff, went north, an hour and a half, and then ended up at the south entrance, drove all the way over to the east entrance to then get back out on the freeway so I could head up to my next destination, which was Zion. Got to the east entrance. I'm sorry, folks. Entrance is closed. Moosed out front. Should have told you. No shit. The east entrance was closed. I had to go all the way back through the.
But wait,
Grand
you were
Canyon National
leaving.
Park.
You weren't going.
No, because I think that's Indian land right
It
there.
is.
Isn't
It's
it?
Indian
You have
territory.
to go
That's
through
exactly right.
It's like 20 miles through Indian
It's
land.
Navajo
to get
territory.
out to-
All of it.
Yeah.
And
to
it's
the
all
highway.
of it, and it is fucking closed down to you, paleface.
So what about the North Rim? Can you even get to the North Rim now?
You'd have to come in from the top.
But what I'm
Yes,
saying is,
you can.
was it still open?
Yes.
Because they closed it.
So that's the trick is, so for me, what I had to do, how it affected my life, was instead of me just popping out on 89 out the east entrance, I had to drive all the way back to the south entrance, drive all the way back down to Flagstaff, which literally added 3.5 hours to my trip. There is no road that just goes from the south entrance of National Park over to 89. You've got to go. Hard to imagine. There aren't roads everywhere. But you're in the middle of the goddamn world. You're in the middle of the goddamn desert. So there isn't a road there. You have to go to Flagstaff first. And then when you're at Flagstaff again, now you go back up. So now anytime you get most of the way you're going somewhere and you have to turn around again, that's called getting Flagstaffed. Because I spent 2 nights in Flagstaff. I didn't want to because of that. I got Flagstaffed. So that was cool. And then the same thing in Zion. When you leave Zion, you go in through the east entrance. You're going to go out through the west entrance. St. Mary's headed toward California. Nope, St. Mary's entrance is closed. You have to do the same thing, go back through Zion. But going back through Zion is not the worst thing in the world. So.
Hey, John, did you bring logs?
I
Did you bring a log?
Yeah.
Can I get one?
I'll get him.
Okay. That's awesome. From all the things that you post and stuff, that trip looks great. I really hope I can pull something out of my ass to do that rally next year. So now, being on all those roads, are you confident that a person in a $1,000 car isn't going to mangle themselves?
No. You know what? I'm going to have to rethink this entire fucking trip. Because when I got to the top of fucking Jerome, I was like, dude, if I would have bought a $1,000 car, because okay, think about it, 89 grand Caravan. 89 is the name of the route. Grand is how much money you're going to spend on the car.
Right.
And Caravan, because a bunch of assholes doing it at the same time.
It's the perfect name.
It's the perfect name. Thank you, Ben. Now, that being said, a $1,000 car, I don't think would get you to Jerome.
If you had a bad tie ride, you'd be dead.
Oh, shit, yeah, you'd be dead. Hell, if you had bad shocks on most of these roads, you'd be dead.
Brakes are probably pretty important.
Oh, brakes are super important. So I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, if I started with a $1,000 car, step one, $300 worth of brakes.
Right.
Step two, $300 worth of shocks.
Right.
Step three, $300 worth of tires.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not leaving Arizona. I'm not going to make it to
Change
Jerome.
your transmission fluid too, because you're down shit.
There's so many vehicles overheated on the side of the road. There are so many places where if your car's not in good shape, you're just not going to fucking make it. When you get to Zion, your car's not allowed to be over 20 feet long. Your car's not allowed to be any wider than 7 feet 9 inches. If your car's wider than 7 feet 9 inches, you have to pay $15 because when you get to the tunnels,
they have to stop other people.
they have to stop all the other traffic, so your dumb wide ass can go through on your own, and that screws the works up.
What car is too wide? Did they tell you?
Well, no. Imagine if you're in a dually.
Oh, yeah.
So you're out, right? My van is 7'9", but like if you go to 8 feet, you know, you're done. And so, and if it's over 20 feet long, so if you want to go get some 23-foot RV or something, or some extended long van, you're going to pay.
Or 76 Thunderbird.
Or yeah, 76 Thunderbird. What do you got? I got this 73 Caddy.
It's
Sedan
400
DeVille
feet long.
Broham.
It's got a rear steering.
It's got a Continental kit. Yeah. So there are definitely parts where I was just like, Jesus Christ. I'm driving a 2012 Econoline with 100,000 miles on it, with brand new suspension, brand new brakes, and brand new tires. It's about the most dialed in thing that I own by far. And there were points on this trip where I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to back up and take another cut at that. You know, where like that road in Jerome, there were 2 or 3 points in Jerome where I was like, okay, hold on, stop, back up, cut it again. Because
that was
the
the
van
most
was too
technical
long.
driving
Yeah.
I think that I've ever done.
The roads getting into Jerome are frightening. Now, here's the 3 or 4 years ago when Merritt and I did this trip, I had gone to San Diego, flown to San Diego, and bought a Tundra there. So that poop-colored Tundra I had, Chewy. I bought that thing in San Diego, and the guy assured me it was great, but you know, you spend $3,000 on a Tundra, you're not going to get the greatest car in the world. Well, the brakes had burned up before I got to Palm Springs. So I bought new brakes in Palm Springs, but I was like, fuck it. I'm going to make it to Flagstaff before I put the brakes on. It was really hot in Palm Springs. It was miserable. Well, when I left Palm Springs and started getting into elevation, I got into a blizzard with no brakes. I mean, I was metal on metal. The pads were just gone. And so I was using the rear brake. I was using the e-brake on these descents. And we stayed the night in Jerome. And we made those roads into Jerome on 2-wheel drive California tires, which are not recommended for snow, and rear brakes only.
That's crazy.
And that Tundra with
That
two bikes,
is cra-
with two
that
bikes
is
in the back of the
insane.
truck. And it was crazy. It was stupid dumb. And then we made it out of Jerome and we got to Flagstaff on Christmas Day, and we pulled into a Flophouse motel on Christmas Day, and I replaced all the brakes in a 3-foot blizzard in Flagstaff. Because I could have done it in 85-degree heat in Palm Springs, but it was too hot. Because I'm a fucking princess.
Now you're laying underneath the thing, melting snow everywhere.
Oh, I had to
wet.
shovel out to get down to the brakes, to get down to the wheels. And then all these people who were staying in the hotel because they had no choice, because they're, you know, you're staying in a $32 a night hotel in Flagstaff, you're not doing great on Christmas. And we're in there.
No, because your expendable income is going to fentanyl and
Dude, yeah, it is. Everybody that I ran into that night or that day that we stayed in that really shitty hotel and I drove past that shitty hotel in Flagstaff twice, and it's still shitty. So 5 years later, to not make it nice.
Dude scratching his face like, what you doing? Working on brakes? I see you're working on brakes. Do you need some help?
You know what's funny is every single person that walked up was like, hey man, can I help you? And I mean, it's 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
And I had to dig the snow out to work on the brakes on the truck. And I had my own floor jack and stuff. I'm not stupid, but like, I am stupid. I'm working on brakes in the snow.
Right.
Speaking of 22 feet long cars,
That's exactly what I just said. The Sedan DeVille.
yeah,
The 77 Sedan DeVille right there. But all these people were like, hey, it's Christmas, man. Can I give you some money? And I was like,
Okay.
no, you can't give me money. I chose to buy this piece of shit. There's 2 motorcycles in the back of them that I own.
Yeah.
My wife and I are doing this as an adventure. We just got off of a deluxe sleeper car, meal car, bar car train into Grand Canyon, you know, that serves you all the drinks you can handle. I just happen to drive shitty vehicles.
Well, in that case, can you give me some money?
Yeah.
Well, that was funny because it was like all these people were so generous to me, and these people have got 3 kids in a $32 a night hotel.
Yeah.
And on Christmas Day.
well, doesn't that gives me faith in humanity?
It absolutely does.
Well, usually-
this whole trip gave me faith in humanity.
Usually the people that have the least
Yeah.
are usually the most generous
By far.
because they you know, it doesn't mean anything to them. It's just surviving, you know, like.
Well, this to me is the great equalizer. If you go to Logan Pass, Glacier National Park, you park your car, you're at the top, you're as high as a car can go. As somebody once said, you're higher than giraffe pussy.
I could be higher than a car.
Yes. Well, this is the point. So you get there, and then there's a sign that says you can hike to Hidden Lake.
Huh.
And you're like, that sounds like a great idea. And you look up, and it's all like, you know, it's got like a boardwalk thing, and you hike up. It's gorgeous. and you just start getting higher and higher and higher, and you're now among the glaciers.
Wow.
And you're not looking up at glaciers anymore. They're on your level. And then you get to the 3 mile point, you cross over this little peak, and you're looking down at this pristine lake in the middle of mountains and glaciers. And it's about the most beautiful thing in the world. It's gonna take you a moment. And you're gonna sit there for a while, and you're just gonna fucking soak it all in. Now the road, the trail from where I was standing down into the actual lake is another 3 miles. But the trail was closed due to heavy bear activity.
That'll do it every time.
If you want to know how to get me to stop going somewhere, if you want to know how to be like, you could put a sign outside the IX Center that says heavy bear activity. I'll no longer try to sneak in.
I hate that during Cleveland Pride, there's always the heavy bear activity down on you. I always have
Exactly what I was
to
thinking. Bears in bikinis driving Lamborghinis.
And I did see a lot of bears. So, it's not like a sign that's meant to be like, there aren't really any bear. We're just going to keep you away from this shit. We don't want to maintain this trail anymore. So we'll put a sign up about bear. No, there's plenty of fucking bear.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's that time of the year where the bear are super active.
Well,
and
they have to live somewhere, and that's
they
probably
do.
the place that they want to do it.
Yeah, it's their home. I mean, I don't have a problem with nature. Let nature
be nature, man.
And you're a stranger there.
I was
But in
too
a city,
close
you kill
to
everything.
a big.
I'll just be happy to have a 44 Magnum on my hip.
I was
just
too
in
close
case
to a
nature
bull
gets
elk.
out of control.
And a bull elk and like 9 or 10 does. And I didn't know they did this, but in the town of Mammoth, outside of Yellowstone, or on your way out of Yellowstone, I guess the bull elk have taken over this town. I mean, they're just, you can't do anything about it. These things are 9 feet tall. They're gigantic. This makes a Ohio deer look like a fucking kitty cat, you know?
How about the butch elk?
Yeah, the butch elk, right? Yeah. The bull elk. This thing's monster. Well, what I didn't know is when
my cousin owns a condo in Mammoth.
In Mammoth.
Yeah.
When they are threatened, they make a sound that sounds like a 4-year-old girl screaming. And any of you who've had daughters know that there is a point where your daughter is inconsolable.
Oh, yeah.
And she makes a scream that she's just inconsolable and you're not going to get anything else out of the situation.
Yep.
That is the exact noise that comes out of a 600-pound or 900-pound giant bull elk. So I'm over here on the other side of town, pulling in, reading my map or whatever, and I hear this. I'm like, fucking control your kids.
Yeah.
You know? And I hear it again, and I'm like, man, that chick is very persistent. And I'm like, what the fuck? So it's dark out. I mean, it's late. And I see this RV with its headlights on. And I look in the light of the headlights, and there's this monster animal. And then I see all the other monster animals laying in the ground next to it. That animal is defending itself. It's yelling, saying, get the fuck away from me. And the people have spotlights out. They're spotlighting it and everything else. Well, fuck me running. That is a very strange defensive mechanism. It sounds just like a child screaming. No doubt about it. Fucking weird.
Yeah.
They're like seagulls, too. They sound like little babies.
Oh, my God. This was so creepy.
But
But did you hear a Bigfoot? That's what I want to know.
No, I didn't hear or see anything resembling a Bigfoot. But at the top of Logan Pass, after hiking 3 miles horizontally and unknown thousands of feet vertically, probably 5,000 foot elevation change, nobody up there is political.
Good.
Nobody up there is wearing a red hat or a blue hat or anything.
Thank God.
They are just super cool. And everybody's just like, hey, was that fucking great? Or when you're hiking up there and people are hiking down, people are like, hey, hang in there. It's another half mile. You're closer than you think you are. Don't freak out. Don't give up yet. It's totally worth it. When you get up there, you're going to be thrilled that you hiked that last half mile because it's steep. It's a hard climb.
You could roll down the hill.
Oh, you roll down that hill. There are points where I made the mistake. I was like, I hear water running. I'm going to look over and see where that water's running. Take one more step, 600-foot drop.
Jeez.
You know, no fence, no guardrail, no nothing. Just 600-foot drop. And loose, like weird, try to grab it with your hand, it just falls apart. You know, it's like a rock. It looks like a rock. And you grab it with your hand and it turns out it's just
Shell.
shell. Yeah, it's just shell. Just falls apart.
And then you got to cut your own arm off with a razor pocket knife.
Again, always have a Gerber tool.
Yeah.
So, very good tech tip. Always
My
have a
good
Gerber
hand.
tool. Yeah. So it was just, but anyway, that was it. I was noticing that everybody was very cheerful. Everyone was very happy to be around each other. Everyone was very much like, you did it. And then at the top, there was this guy up there with a spotting scope, and he was spotting bear, right? And he had camera and spotting scopes and stuff. And every person that would get to the top, he'd be like, so how was that? And I'm like, man, that was something. But you know what? You don't have COVID. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have COVID. That's great. He's like, no, seriously, if you had COVID, there's no way you could have made that climb. Like, that's a good
That's
point.
your test.
That's an excellent point. There is no way. If I would have had a head cold, I couldn't have made that.
How long was the hike?
The hike is 6 miles.
So, like, how long did it take? About?
Oh, I don't
It was
know.
a
I mean,
heavy
I
incline,
stopped.
right?
I stopped 7
Oh,
times to
okay.
go look at cool shit. Yeah.
I guarantee you, the woman that I bummed a light from me would not have made that climb.
She didn't make it 100 yards down the road.
Dude,
I
she
double
was,
sanitized after
yeah,
that.
she was dying of COVID, dude. That's
Yeah.
what
That was definitely a dry cough.
That was
Oh,
a
yeah.
miserable cough.
I looked at that child that was too big to be in a
coughed
stroller.
right through a cigarette.
that was. That I was like, oh, please don't go over there, John.
Brom.
He is getting everything he can out of the EX500. Yeah. That is 500 cc's of angry ninja.
With two up on it.
2 up on it.
Yeah,
exactly.
and not small people. No.
So that was cool. So that was definitely a good trip. So anybody do any more research into the whole Polaris Zero?
Nope.
No,
Merger?
there has been nothing since we talked to you on the phone that I've seen anywhere.
It's an merger or a cooperative?
It's a
effort?
cooperative,
Yeah.
and Zero's been very good about it. They've given us a lot of good intel. Polaris has no interest in the motorcycle side of it at all. I mean, that's not even that's not even
snow,
something they want to do.
water, and whatever I think is.
And that makes me very excited
yeah,
because snowmobiles that would be silent,
yeah.
wow, and jet skis that would be silent,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Well, they're still. I mean, if they have that, if they're sucking water or shooting it
Yeah.
out, it's gonna make that wah 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 noise. But
I don't care. I live by the lake,
yeah.
and there's 2 things that'll ruin my time at the lake.
Jet skis.
One is the 2-stroke.
Yeah.
So when I go to dive into the water, and some guy's just had his Kawasaki 440
Yeah.
stand-up jet ski from
Smelling it,
1981, and he's running at a 27% mix, and I'm just like, it's laying in the water. The oil is just laying on top of the water. That sucks.
Rainbow.
Rainbow, yeah. You're trying to swim in that
new
shit.
E-Tech motors are good though. I mean,
They are, yeah.
They're very efficient. They're super quiet.
But nothing beats electricity.
No,
When it
nothing
comes
beats
to the
electricity.
idea of getting up out of the water fast, 140 foot-pounds of torque is
Yeah.
going to get you up in the air
And if you
fast.
think about it, like being a marine thing, you have water for cooling
Oh my
ready
God.
all the time. Like you don't have to have that on the system; it can just suck it in.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a perfect situation.
I don't know what about the thought of an electric jet ski. It just makes me think that's going to be in a James Bond movie.
Oh, of course it is. Absolutely.
Oh, well, then they can definitely be submersible too, because there's
Well, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You could absolutely be
That's true.
submersible. You don't
That's
need air to
true.
run it.
right,
Yeah. The only non-submersible part is the guy on it.
right, yeah,
Yeah, but how many James Bond movies had those electric,
electric
scuba diving
underwater stuff.
propeller
Yeah, that's
things
true.
that they hunt
Absolutely.
into, so.
Right. Thunderball and all that stuff. That was all a
Now
big
they'll be
part of the
really
plot.
fast.
Yeah. Really fast. And like that Honda jet ski I had for a minute, that Aquatrax thing, that was 100 horsepower. That was 120 horsepower. And it was faster than God. I mean, it was obscenely fast. With the Zero technology, you're going to be 30 or 40% more than that.
right.
Wow.
And it's going to weigh a third as much.
So, what do you think?
Yeah.
Just with your knowledge of, you see the Zeros come and go. You see people like Steve who can make one go to the
Far.
ultimate limit of thing,
Yeah.
and then you have guys that are wrist happy and whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think the runtime on an electric jet ski would be?
Long.
Really?
Long, because the batteries. So here's the thing is, with motorcycles, you can only carry so much weight, right?
Right.
Because the bike, you find out with bikes like the Energica, that bike is well over 500 pounds, right? So for it to have its 21 kilowatt hours of battery and its 230 mile range, that bike's way over 500 pounds,
Right. All battery
way over
weight.
600 pounds.
Right.
Because these batteries, a 3 point, You're getting into
42 pounds.
Yeah, each battery,
3.5 kilowatt hours.
3.5 kilowatts is going to cost you 40 pounds, right? So all these zero DSRs and everything else, that's 160 pounds of just battery. Well, if you don't need to drag around gasoline, pints a pound the world around, you don't need to drag around, like you said, the cooling systems. You don't need to drag around the expansion chambers and the exhaust and all that shit in a jet ski normally.
It's just batteries and a motor.
You got a motor and batteries. So if a jet ski, a normal Yamaha 750 Wave Runner, is weighing 500 pounds, 600 pounds, yeah, that can all be battery. You can now get that thing. And the magic of it is, with gasoline motors, anytime you're not running the impeller, you're still burning fuel.
Right.
Well, with electric motor, the only time you're burning fuel is when you're on the impeller, when you're literally running the pump.
So an electric jet ski would just be what? A fiberglass hull, batteries, a motor, and wires going to like the throttle and other sensors.
You don't need brakes anymore.
Think of an EDF RC plane.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And so the range on it would be very good compared to a gasoline-powered jet ski. So,
well,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a jet ski, it comes down to you can't stop somewhere at a gas station. You've got to come back home and get gas. I mean, I guess you could go to a dock, but
also a jet ski, a sit-down jet ski, would be the ultimate platform for changeable batteries. You could have a 5-gallon bucket of battery on the front.
Oh, I could pull out 4 batteries.
Yeah.
If I could pull out 4 of Zero style battery with their brick battery technology is pretty amazing. 40 pounds is very manageable.
Right.
So I could reach down there, pull out 4 of them, throw them up on the dock, plug them in at my camper or whatever, and drop in 4 more of them, and go out for another day's ride.
And think about this: basically, since you're just sitting on a couch, that's all an open chamber.
Right.
They could really place those batteries like dead nut center CG wise. It'd be fucking amazing.
Oh, I think it's great.
Might come up on plane perfectly because they don't have the motor up front or the gas.
I think really when you're thinking about like that idea of the whole idea of taking a gasoline powered motor that has to rev through many different RPMs and make power at many different RPMs. And put that into a plastic hull and not melt itself or burn itself into the ground.
Right.
When you've got a motor that never gets
correction
hotter.
into the lake.
Yeah, exactly. Burn itself into the lake. Right. Taking away all those different systems and replacing it with literally a light switch.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. So
really cool.
I couldn't be happier. And from our very first interaction with Zero, I was like, why doesn't somebody have a Zero powered jet ski?
Dude, and then you can just imagine Hoff over here, all his sailboats will have a Zero powered, like,
they already have all that stuff.
No, I'm just
I'm saying they have sail e-drives for sailboats right now, and they're super efficient.
But I'm just saying, for you, you'd pull in with the Zero, you'd hit the gas, and the thing would like go on a roost.
Not a displacement hull. They can only go.
They can only go as fast as the hull can go.
Times 1.73 times the hull. No, the square root of 3 times
length,
the
hulling.
hull, the at length of the waterline. That's as fast as a displacement hull can go.
Wouldn't a powerboat be like the ideal situation for a hybrid where you just need that extra boost to get up on
Absolutely. Because that's true too. These boats, the whole thing about boat technology is until you get on a plane, you're horribly inefficient. But then once you get on a plane, you're incredibly efficient. And that's another great point is you could just use it to boost yourself up onto a plane. It's really cool. So I love that idea. And Polaris is the right company to work with about it because Polaris has so much history with power sports. So with, ATVs and stuff like that.
You know what? You're absolutely, my brain was just working, which is weird. But
We'll agree with that
no,
one.
but you're 100% correct because with the length that they can run, because those the electric hydrofoils, those things are like good for like an hour and 20 minutes. Things.
The idea is you have very little hull in the water.
Right.
Right. And so when more hull you have in the water, the less efficient it is.
Beep, beep.
Now here's one that I think for the people who hunt, to take a quad
make it quiet.
and to have a quad that was silent and have a quad that can go through deep water without needing the entire goddamn snorkel kit that you need to have on quads to do that. For a quad that can drag a deer out of the woods. Whoa. Hey.
Oh, I'm on fire.
That was a popper, man.
Yeah, that was good.
So for a hull, to be able to take a quad and have torque that you can't even measure. We're flashing. I saw the thing jump. You almost kicked it over. All right. Just
So I
want to make
think
sure
they
we're still
still need to come up with like that's
Yeah.
going to be great, but I still think they need to come up with like a shoebox size generator that if you're out in the woods, you can take along with you in order to like overnight you could charge the thing up or whatever. But they need to come up with like a lightweight, high performance, like
the idea of building your own power when you get there is always a great idea. But when I use the Zero, the FX, and I use it out in the woods and I use it at slow speeds, under 30 miles per hour. When we use it at AMA Vintage Days,
do a 7/640.
We use three people passing the bike off to each other, and at the end of the weekend, we still have 20% of the battery left. So those low speed applications where there's a lot of regen happening, it's fantastic how long the batteries last. So I think a quad would be perfect.
Doesn't the military already have some kind of electric quad?
So they have the MMX Electric Zero. Now, I don't know if they have an electric quad. I'm not up on that. So, but it does seem like the perfect application, and Polaris is the perfect company to do it.
You know what would be ridiculously cool?
Yeah.
Is like basically take the idea of like Ryobi or something and have a complete power kit.
Right.
Where like if you want to have a jet ski, you pop the power kit in.
Hell
it's a jet ski. You can
batteries
pull it
are
out.
expensive.
Yeah, and then you can put that into your
These
quad.
3.6 cells could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Take the battery out of your Zero electric motorcycle, pop it into your leaf blower, pop it into
not your
leaf
leaf
whacker.
Well, it'd be a 40-pound leaf blower, right? Why not?
Yeah.
But for your lawnmower, certainly.
Definitely, yeah.
And for your jet ski, certainly. For your quads, certainly. Why buy more batteries than you have to? Especially when these batteries are good for 5,000 cycles.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you own 4 of these batteries, you could literally power your motorcycle or anything.
Make a home power bank. So those of us that live in areas where you can't ride your motorcycle, you can power your house with
that's, Brandon Nozaki Miller, Brandon's whole thing is he designed this thing called the power siphon so that you could take the power out of your Tesla that you,
Pardon me.
You could take the power out of your Tesla that you got at your high-speed charger for almost nothing.
Yeah.
Or the power out of your motorcycle you got at your high-speed charger for almost nothing. And bring that home and power your garage or power your house.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Or if your power went out in your house, you could
Come on, honey.
run your
pretty
house.
cool.
Yeah, that's Brandon's thing. So Brandon Miller, look him up. Mm-hmm. He's made this thing called a power siphon. And it's brilliant because your Tesla is literally just a giant battery.
Battery pack, yeah.
Right. So if you take it down here to Walgreens or wherever,
Take it to work, juice it up.
juice it up at the Tesla station for a couple of bucks, bring it back, your house is no longer vulnerable to a power outage. You can now plug your house into your car. Mm-hmm.
So
that's brilliant.
Speaking of all this electric stuff, because now my brain's once again doing things, I ended up watching 5 episodes of The Long Way Up.
Yeah.
And I imagined it was going to be a giant commercial about how great everything is and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not. They are being very honest. And with what they were doing and how they're traveling and where they are, it changed the dynamic of the trip because they're no longer really enjoying it as much as they used to because every day is like, oh, it's cold today and our mileage dropped by 35 miles. Ooh. Or, so it's really interesting. So Harley promised them the world, the moon.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And to the point that they were going to install 156 rapid charging stations from the south tip of
South America,
all
Tierra
the way
del
up.
Fuego.
Yeah, so they could hit them all. And so it was like a week before they're leaving, and they're asking, "So how's that coming?" She's like, yeah, we've had a couple shipped down."
Whoa. The charging stations they needed?
Yeah, and so like they get down to the tip of Southern America in Urshiwa, or how do you say? I can't say it, Urshiwa or whatever. Yeah. And they get down there and they get the bikes, and they were totally impressed with the bikes because these are not the same bikes. These are redesigned adventure bikes that happen to have the Harley base kind of
live wires that got built into ADV bikes.
One-off bikes.
Or wait, maybe Zeros that they put a Harley sticker on.
Well, no, here's the thing that was interesting. They started riding a Zero first.
Okay.
And they ended up not going with it because I think Harley blew them hard enough that they went with Harley.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
But here's the best part. So they get down there and they're about to leave on this trip, right? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, stage 1 charging doesn't work. And they're like, wait a minute.
You can only plug into level 1 charging. There's if you don't have CCS charging,
right?
So the way a Livewire works is you have 2 charging systems. You have CCS charging, which is high speed DC charging,
right?
And that is the fastest type of charging that a motorcycle can take right now. Now, everybody else in the world on planet Earth uses level 2 charging. The Harley's using level 3 charging. So level 2 chargers are ubiquitous. They are everywhere. And then level 1 is your wall outlet.
Right.
That's 50 hertz or 60 hertz at 110 volts. Right.
But you wonder if you don't design the system to work on a 50 hertz system. I mean, we're 60 hertz here, but down there it's 50 hertz.
Yeah.
So
well, here's what's
could that be an
kooky.
issue?
Well,
It's insane because if you take a Harley and you put anything in it other than level 3, it automatically defaults to level 1. So if you pull up to the level 2 charger I have here in my shop, that'll charge a 0 up in an hour, right? You pull up there in a Harley and I plug that level 2 in to your bike. It's going to take it. It's going to fit. You're going to be like, yay, I got level 2. No, you don't. Right. You're not getting level 2. You're getting level 1.
Well, that's what they had to.
You're charging it like 14 hours.
Right. They had to basically take this other machine, take it apart, and put the stuff in the bikes.
Yeah.
And it was like this poor girl, I forget her name, but like she basically was in charge of making this happen with this other engineer guy. And so they pulled it off to the point when they were leaving, they were like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it works. But like they kept stopping places and their bikes wouldn't charge. And when they would, it was seriously like a 12-hour charge for the bike
14-hour charge.
Yeah,
You're level 1, man. Yeah, level 1's
And
lousy.
then they started down in the south in winter.
Yeah.
And so it was negative 32 degrees. And so their bikes were dropping down to 52 miles.
Yeah, you got no range.
So they lost,
no range, and it's charging. If it's charging at all,
they were so disappointed. And I hate to be a spoiler, but you'll find out. Whatever.
I'm gonna watch it. Yeah.
But without the diesel trucks that they brought, many times in the very southern tip and up through where it got warm, they would never have made it. They just couldn't have. But what was actually pretty neat was the pickup trucks that they're making in Lordstown now. Are
they the Rivians?
Yeah, the Rivians. Yeah. But the 2 that they delivered to them were prototypes. They weren't even they had arcade buttons inside them to change gears and stuff. Like they weren't even the real interior.
So these are prototypes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, like a week before the trip, they got there and the guy's like, "You sure these trucks are going to be ready?" And it was just a frame with nothing in it.
Oh man.
I just read today that Rivian is going to build Amazon's electric delivery trucks.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
That makes sense.
What are the trucks that are supposed to come out of Lordstown?
Rivians.
That's a Rivian.
Yeah. So each wheel is an individual motor.
Okay, what about unsprung weight? Like I was like, why you don't really
motors?
Why do you want all that weight in the hubs, normally? But I mean, I guess maybe it's okay.
It's because for off-roading and stuff like that, like they can control to the nth degree every single wheel. And then the regenerative factor. So like if you only need 2-wheel drive, the front wheels become regeneration things to put more stuff into the battery as you're using the rear wheels to push it. And
so I guess the hubs aren't that heavy that they seriously impact the suspension.
I think they're pretty heavy.
Right.
And unsprung weight isn't really in our motorcycle world, unsprung weight is everything. You put a hub motor in a motorcycle, it's terrible.
But when the truck weighs 8,000 pounds.
Exactly.
I think it's more than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So my question is, okay, so California can't even supply power to the state now.
Right.
And so say half the people in the state start buying electric vehicles, and they're having rolling blackouts already. What are they going to do? I mean, they're not
extension cords.
I read up on that a little bit too, and they're like the grid provider who's didn't count on having power plants that would power when we can't when our renewable resources can't power everything. And I'm like, well, who's going to want to run a power plant that only runs 6 days out of their worst consumption? And you're not going to, you're not going to keep a coal power plant, when you have that, you've priced them out of the game.
It shocked me. Some of the places I was in that
So
were remote as
plants.
fuck. I mean, remote as fuck. And there were Tesla charging stations at the gas station. So the little, shitbird gas station out there. And there's 8 Tesla chargers. So Tesla spent that much money on infrastructure for, I don't know how many Teslas are going to be going through that place, but yes, for a Tesla owner,
But
they
if
can
there's
punch
ever
it up.
8, right there at the same time.
What? I mean,
boy, they're
seriously.
ready.
No, but
They're
that's,
ready.
that's good. I mean, that's good, and that's the way it
The
should
gas
be.
pump, there were 2 gas pumps. There were 8 Tesla chargers, and that was one of those points where I was like, that's kind of amazing, because I did see a lot of Teslas on this trip.
But you know what? So you're talking about Elon Musk, with
Yeah.
like things. So I don't think he cares, because like with my job right now, we do a lot of stuff with trade unions, and we're going to be going to Texas to shoot a video, and it's hopefully at the Gigafactory that they're building.
Yeah.
So he went down there, and they were looking for land, and it's right next to the airport down in Texas. I think Dallas or whatever, Austin or whatever. I don't know. And Arlington, Texas. Okay, but they were like, he was like, I need 2,200 acres, and they're like, oh, we only have 1,600 acres. He said, what's this? Well, that's this company. That he's like, I'll buy it. He bought them all, and then he bought like there was something else, like another an industry or something. They're like, well, we can use that to do that, so I'll buy that. He just bought that, and then they were like, well, when do you want this done? He was like, 21,
Right.
spring of 21.
Right. Now, basically.
They're like, well, you'd have to have 3 teams overlapping, working 24 hours a day, but actually doing 29 hours of work in the 24-hour
Yeah.
day. He was like, fine, make it happen.
Yeah.
And he just paid it. Like, and like
Yeah.
they every time they hand him a bill that's ridiculous, he's like, yeah, I don't care.
I like that guy because he hates Bill Gates. So I like him more and more every time. Everything he does is so much better than
Well,
Bill
he's
Gates.
one of the few guys that, like, when he says he's going to do something,
Right,
he
he does
does it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Well, having deep pockets helps.
it
too.
helps.
Yeah.
Not
It
like
does.
I'm going to build a good operating system that sucks.
I mean,
Yeah, right.
I think SpaceX alone is enough to keep that. No matter how bad the car market could work out for him,
Yeah.
his space endeavors are going to be a cash cow for years.
Oh, I'm
to
sure.
come.
Yeah, because like there's people now, they're shooting a movie in space, and I forget who the actor is going, but they're using SpaceX, and they're taking these actors to the International Space Station with a film crew to shoot segments of this movie in the actual space station.
Insane.
It's Andy Kaufman.
I feel like that could be done cheaper.
Would you believe there's a man on the moon?
Well, they want the realistic. You know.
I mean,
So, we get
That was
emails.
your Andy Kaufman reference for the week.
So I thought you guys had.
Can I get
So-
ice in a boat?
Oh, ice in a boat? Yeah.
And some boat juice.
So I don't know if you guys remember Kevin from Kansas City. So Kevin is one of our podcast listeners, and he's been on it. He did mention about Harley Davidson pulling out of India. Yeah, that's done. That's done. That is it. That is the Street 750, the Street 500. Stick a nail in that shit. It is done. Stick a fork in it. It is over. That is not good. He reports that Kansas City, that Harley Davidson, when Harley Davidson left their factory there, when they shut down that factory, it pissed off the city police department and the whole city itself. And so the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, which historically has had Harley Davidsons, has completely sold them off and has switched over to BMWs.
Nice.
Wow.
So it's like, well, there you go.
That's
so if
awesome.
you're going to close your factory in our town, and I mean, that's what they did. They closed that factory down so they could go build bikes in India.
Right.
How'd that work out for you?
Not well.
Not well.
That's an awful look.
Yeah. It is an awful look, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that's not. I mean, as we've discussed many times in other podcasts.
Well, now they're sticking badges on, Benelli's.
Benelli's. But I'm saying it's not like the first time that Harley's made awful decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you say, okay, well, we're going to try desperately to sell you the Street 500 and the Street 750, which nobody fucking wanted.
Right.
And everyone abhorred it. And that's just fucking awful.
I mean, think about this. What happens when your soul of your company is you put so many eggs into one basket, one style, one thing, and then that thing isn't cool anymore.
You're
fucked.
It's because when you ride a Harley, the vibrations give your brain micro lesions. I read it somewhere. It's on the internet, and so it has to be true.
It's got to be true. Yeah. The Honda Trail 125, you guys mentioned the Hunter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, obviously everybody's going to buy that.
Oh yeah.
That's what. So Dan from Cincy, who might come up on the 300th,
Yeah.
and it's like that. So we talked about it a little bit, but he really wanted to get everybody here his opinion,
Right.
and stuff like that. And I mean, who's not going to want that bike?
Oh,
It's a great bike.
everyone's going to want it. It's going to be as good as the Super Cub, but with
Yeah.
knobby tires.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But
Yeah.
they need to put that dual range transmission on.
No, they don't. You know what? As much as I love that dual range transmission, this is a totally different buyer. than it was back then.
Okay, yeah, you're not going to use it in the woods.
They're not using it as a ranch bike.
Right.
So back then, when the CT110 came out, they marketed it towards the motherfucker had a rifle scabbard.
I'll take
Right?
twice as much horsepower over half as much reduction any day.
Exactly.
So
Right.
you just won't
That's
need it.
true.
First gear will probably pull you up
That's
to
true.
anything you want.
So
I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
think
as a creeper, though, I mean, you want to, if you're in the woods, you want a creeper.
Yeah, if you're in the
You
woods,
want
you
it?
want a creeper. I'm
You
gonna have
do.
that printed on my fucking headstone.
I mean, I'm just as big. I'm a very big fan of the dual range CT90 and everything. But at the end of the day, I mean, when I've taken it and I've really taken it in the woods and done some stupid stuff, it is pretty cool. Like
The one time I used my dual range was when we were at Mid-Ohio and I was using it. Larry Newberry had brought an Ape, a three-wheeler. So he brought a three-wheeler down and he'd parked back in Hellsap Acre with his illegal trailer. And he unloads this thing and we're not pushing that all the way. And I got a bunch of tie-down straps and I had my CT110, put it in low range, and that CT110 pulled that three-wheeler like it wasn't there through the mud and everything. That was when the low range was perfect. Yeah, no doubt about it.
So Nick, how is your CT? You now have a CT140, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Today on my way home from work, I saw I was driving my car and I saw on the side of the road there was a leaf blower and an edger and stuff for, just in the garbage. And my initial thought wasn't to pull into the driveway and load it into the back of my car. My initial thought was to go home, grab the CT90
and strap shit to it
and get the leaf blower.
Oh my God.
So I got the leaf blower and it was fantastic.
You went to get an inappropriate vehicle.
I was so proud of that moment.
To garbage pick.
That I realized it's Thursday evening. I'll get the leaf blower, and then I rode through the rest of my neighborhood like a victory lap, looking for more shit.
Literally, I'm proudly displaying the leaf blower you garbage picked. Yeah.
I'm like, if you could get that leaf blower going and use it for some extra propulsion.
I was going to say, Nick's getting blown tonight.
No, but it's fantastic. I think I got it. I didn't GPS verify it or anything, but I think I got to like 50 miles an hour.
Oh, I'm sure.
Inappropriate gearing.
The Grim would do 50.
Yeah.
And you have a whole lot more CCs.
Yeah, I mean it's great. When I first started off with like the 45 tooth rear sprocket, the first gear was just completely unusable. It was like a low range, but now that I'm at a 40 tooth rear sprocket and a 17 tooth front sprocket, it's the first gear is mostly unusable.
Okay.
So I've got a 35 tooth rear on the way, and I'm hoping that'll speed things up.
Is this another one that you made?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
You made?
Yeah,
he made
I
some.
designed the sprocket and I had it laser cut, and then I chucked it up on my lathe to cut the, how the teeth have the
chamfer.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So it works fine.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So what's it like in fourth gear in top speed? You know what I mean? Does it still have a lot more to get? I mean, it's winding out.
Yeah, it's.
Is it getting a red line quick?
I don't know what red line is. I mean, I don't have a tack, and I think
Will
supposedly
it get the hair
really quick?
You're right.
I'll bring you one next week that you could use.
What?
A tack.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just a wire wraps around
around the spark plug.
Yeah, that'd be super useful.
An inductive tack.
No, I mean it doesn't really. I mean, I got it up to 50. It could have probably done more. I was on a 35 mile an hour street, and it was. I mean, I was, getting to the back of other cars pretty quickly.
Until parts of the valves started coming out the exhaust.
I mean, that was one thing. That was one thing that today I adjusted the valves because it was doing some weird things at idle, where it would idle fine for a little while, and then all of a sudden it would cough through the carburetor.
Yep.
And it would just die.
Yep.
So I had readjusted the valves because they were kind of tight.
Are they 6 and 8 on that one? 6 in, 6 thou in, and 8 thou out, or six.
The website I checked said 3 in, 5 out.
Wow, that's tight. That is tight.
So I just ignored that. I kind of just loosened it up a little bit and sort of tapped it again. You can sort of feel what it's supposed to be like, but
3 in and 5 out is very tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a toy gun.
Well, and that's what the website said it was supposed to be, and mine was tighter than that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is traditional with those motors; they will tighten. That's your problem, is they're going to tighten with time.
When they're super tight like that, sometimes when you go in with 3, you come out with 5.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
It works out.
Absolutely. All right, so you guys want to hear an awesome dive from Rand?
Yes.
Oh man.
So wait, so in case somebody hasn't ever listened before,
last Friday, when any normal listener would assume that we were making a podcast,
right?
I was on the road doing what I was doing.
We had already been done on our Thursday.
And so Rand took advantage.
Up at like 10 o'clock. Like 10 o'clock. I think I was home.
Well, you guys were on the porch.
Yeah.
In the rain.
Well, we started early. We started at 7 or something like that.
Yeah. So this was coming in at 1:48 in the AM in whatever time zone I was in. Right. So honestly,
you were relatively close, though. I mean, compared to
I was
here.
Literally, he lives in Portland.
Yeah.
Right?
So he was like, it was 12 something or 11:30.
Well, I don't even. And these iPhones, they shift the time around. So it's like this may have even adjusted it since then. So I might have been getting this message at 10:48.
So it was like 2 o'clock here.
Yeah.
Or something.
Right. Like these messages probably came in at 1:48 here. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of them. So
we know he's not dead.
No.
Which is great.
No, very much alive.
Okay, good.
All right.
Good.
Very much alive and very much participating in our podcast.
Excellent. Rand, we definitely want you to stay alive.
Fuck yeah, Rand. So, Rand, call Rand.
I just want to say that we want everyone to stay alive.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Not just
but especially Rand.
All Rands matter. Sorry.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So he says, I've been watching A Long Way Up. There you go.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah,
been watching A Long Way Up. I understand. A lot of my guys might say, what the fuck? Long way around. What the fuck is that? It's middle-age crisis crack for guys.
Oh, yeah.
It was for me. I had a bike in my early 20s, then I let go when the kid arrived. I forget how much fun it was. Then happened on the long way around about 20 years later. Long story short, it got me back into bikes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A lot of guys saw that long way around, and it was like, I got to get a bike, right?
Do we know what Rand's first bike was?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Rand, text Phil at 1 in the morning.
Yeah, use the hotline number and let us know what your first bike was.
Tell him what your first bike was.
I think we might have gone over it, but anyway. Anyway, long story short, it got me back into bikes. But damn, I was drinking the long way round Kool-Aid, as you guys know. Kool-Aid is probably overly harsh, but as most guys who drank the same beverage found, riding around the world was probably a little financially problematic. I could quit my job, bend my 401k over, call it Nancy, and make it write bad checks. But I just can't do that.
But he did buy the GS?
Yes, he did. And I think that's what most of us long way round guys find out. All that said, it was good to have hope.
Yeah.
Hope that maybe someday a long lost uncle that I didn't know would pass and leave me a ton of cash because God darn it, I'm a good guy. And if that happened, I'd be ready with my bike to go around the world. But I digress. The chances of that happening are less than me growing a new pancreas.
Oh.
Best joke of the year. Anyway, watching The Long Way Up. That's what he wrote. I'm not adding anything to this. So I've been waiting for this for so many years. Have you guys watched it?
Yes.
Well, you've watched part of it. I haven't watched any of it. Let me know what you think. I have a pretty critical review, but I'm reading back my thoughts because I think I'm being super critical for multiple reasons that aren't really unbiased.
Well, no, here's one thing. They use the same cameras from 1984 to shoot the new episodes.
Oh, they do?
It looks terrible.
Oh, really?
It looks like the color grade guy was like on vacation. It was like they used like
because they use the same cameraman.
I mean, they used but the thing is like the technology has changed so much that somehow nobody I'm a professional cameraman for a living. Nobody likes the GoPro stock look.
Right.
If you're a professional, right? Somehow these guys use cameras and then made it look like they use GoPros.
To make it look extra adventure-y.
Yeah, totally.
They don't want any high finish on this. No flash.
No.
I wanted to call you guys, but damn this 3-hour time difference. My thoughts are super boring via text because I've been drinking my leftover Natter Day stock.
Yeah.
We went to Crater Lake last week, and I bought the 30-pack. Been pounding the leftovers for like 3 hours, and I'm still coherent. Anyway, Steve H. I've been begging my Honda dealer to let me put down a deposit on Trail 125. He told me that he would contact me as soon as he had some VINs. Are you planning on getting one? I want to be the first kid on the block to have one. The answer is yes. Also, I have a subdivision project where a condition of approval is that I have to evaluate the pump station. I got everything handled except the goddamn wet well. It seems like such a dynamic problem given the inflow and the pump capacity. Also, I&I is kicking my ass. I don't think I should have to include public streets with stormwater collection systems in my I&I. What do you think? The wet well is the problem, though. I don't know how to analyze it.
Well, the stormwater shouldn't be tied into the lift stations.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to say that.
No, but what I would say is... No, I mean, just use variable frequency drives in your lift station.
It's always... The ansser for everything is variable frequency drives. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if your I&I is tied into your lift station...
It'd be perfect.
If your I&I is tied into your lift station, you have to
solve all your fucking problems.
A triplex pump
And he better
system.
be using Ubuntu Linux.
Of course he better. Why the fuck would you do anything else? Yeah.
So I would say that if his stormwater is tied into that, he's going to have to oversize the wet well, use a triplex pump system with 2 redundant pumps and 1 oversized pump for stormwater flow.
I would use 3 personally, but
on variable frequency drives.
I love that.
So,
and if you're a podcast listener, you signed up.
Yep.
You're getting your money's worth, bitch. Back to the long way up. For crying out loud, I watched it and said, dang, Ewan is looking old and fragile.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Dude, Charlie Bowman, or how do you say his name? Boardman or whatever. Yeah. That motherfucker, he crashed. He crashed a bunch of years ago. Yeah. And then, like, training for this or riding again, he, like, mauled himself. Like, broke his leg in, like, 12 places.
Oh, God.
Here's the best thing. I forgot to tell you this.
Yeah.
So, the Harley CEO is the king of all douches. He's wearing, like, this, like distressed leather Harley jacket that was made a day ago and sent to him. And so they're in Germany and
he gets new clothes every day.
Yep. Yeah. They fly Charlie out because Ewan is shooting a movie or something, can't make it, right?
Okay.
And so he's so injured that the bike is like 500 yards away.
Yeah.
He pulls out an electric scooter and stands on it and rides it to get to the bike because he can't walk.
That's 500 yards away.
So he gets on this thing and they're going for a ride and they have brand new tires with mold release agent. And the guy's like, this is fresh. One of one. This is like the prototype. There are no in existence. Right. He goes to first turn. He slides sideways. He's doing all this shit. The CEO is like losing his fucking mind. It was great. Fucking great.
So Ewan's looking old and fragile. Oh, well, he's getting on in years, so it's okay. Then I looked up his age. Holy shit, he's only a year older than me.
Which is about our age,
I think he's younger than me. Yeah. Right. Terry went to bed early, left me hanging, so I turned on the long way around. I can't describe how great it still is. Within the first 2 minutes of watching the first episode, my first question was, is Ewan's ex-wife Eve still single?
He totally got a chance, Rand. Totally.
I think you're in there, but I think she's French. Anyway, and she likes to. She's bad in gravel.
Yeah.
Anyway, the new and old versions are completely different in my opinion, and so far does not.
Does she like the shocker?
And so far does not pluck the same strings that the original did. I understand time marches on and things change. I just need to accept it for what it is. By the way, Charlie is possibly the greatest human on earth.
Yeah,
he is, and I've listened to every interview he's done. He's very generous with interviews, and he's very affable.
If you're listening to this and you have the ability, go to adventurerider.com.
Yeah.
Baldy, who runs the thing, he interviewed Charlie right before they released it, like just a month ago.
Right.
And it is wonderful. Like the guy is seriously a nice dude.
And the ADV Rider podcast also interviewed him, and he was very generous with his time with them, too.
And I mean, like, but he seems like such a nice guy. Like,
my favorite part of the long way round is when the cameraman gets a Russian bike.
Yes. Yeah. When he gets the Kalashnikov.
And he just loves it.
I went into Ultra Dig Dug Google mode and found a Charlie contact email. It wasn't him, but it was one of his buddies.
Oh, good.
I'm sending him a message and told him how Charlie and Ewan changed my life. Something I haven't talked about with you guys about this. About 4 years ago, I was 435 pounds.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well done, Rand.
Because, I mean, he's a
fucking lean dude. Yeah, that dude was like fucking 200 pounds of spring steel.
Wow. Yeah. Good for him.
Good for him indeed. So I was in pretty poor health. I watched Long Way Around and it sparked something in me. I wanted to do that. I wanted to go on an adventure. This TV show inspired me to try and lose weight. It motivated me to take the first steps. I worked hard and had a lot of support, but the end result was me losing 180 pounds and probably saving my own life.
Wow. Good job, dude.
No shit.
Yeah, well done.
Fuck yeah. Well, go Rand. Using the contact that I found, I sent that message off. I shortly received a message from Charlie.
Wow.
It was kind and thoughtful and meant the world to me. I'm sorry for the sappy shit. No,
dude, that's the best shit.
Awesome.
And honestly, that confirms what I thought of the guy too. So that's fucking great, man.
Fucking A, Rand.
Yeah, right.
And so Rand
whatever motivates you. You know what I say? Whatever motivates you and whoever motivates you, it's worth it. I mean, James Montgomery from Star Trek, motivated me to be the best mechanic,
the best work drive.
I mean, with what I do.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I wish I had sent him a letter to thank him for making me into what I am. But
I know, dude. Tommy Chong has motivated me to be the fucking best stoner that I could ever fucking be, and I am so thankful for that guy.
So you guys know that Rand got a Kawasaki Z900 RS.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Great
he said he's
bike.
riding a Z900 RS all the time. He said the throttle's really jerky sometimes. He has to be gentle when rolling it on or it gets jerky. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Yes, it's fuel injected and it's mapped, and they will change the maps. In the meantime, do a throttle position reset and the bike will learn you.
But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
So almost every review you see of any bike that's relatively new, everybody's like, "Oh, the throttle seems to be snatchy."
Yes.
Like that's a thing.
Yeah.
Can't they figure this fucking thing out?
Because what happens is to make the bike clean and green, they've got to essentially say at idle it's barely running, and then at some point when we're no longer idling, now it's going to become a motorcycle.
But why can't they at this point? Like you have computers connected to everything, right?
Yeah.
Why can't they have a thing where you pull it up on your screen on the bike, and it's like Expo on a radio or something, where you just you can see the curve of the throttle and you can dial
dip
in.
it down.
Yeah.
Well,
give me 5 points. Give me 5 points of adjustment to make that like a nice curve or a thing.
But you're saying by fly-by-wire.
Right.
Right.
But my Africa Twin is exactly the same way. It's snatchy.
Yep.
And it's cable.
Yeah.
Well,
So
even
it's like what Phil is saying.
it's cable into a potentiometer.
Yeah.
So
same with my Super Tenere. That's the same thing. They have two cables,
They're
but it's
cables.
still,
But the cable is directly moving the butterfly. It's just going into a throttle position sensor and doing the rest of the system. So
when you have, modern motorcycles, I'm just going to say it that way. They have cables so that you have the cable feel, because they did try direct fly-by-wire for a long time and it lost the cable feel and everyone bitched about it. So they put the cables back in and then they moved the potentiometer downstream of the cables, so you still had cable feel, the drag of the cable.
So
is
wasn't
it
the
not
mana,
physically
wasn't the mana
attached?
fly-by-wire?
Well, that's how you have
It's a mana
traction control
fly-by-wire?
and everything,
It's a mana fly-by-wire.
Well, it was long distance
they're using,
fly-by-wire. So
cut the ignition.
there's
Okay.
so this is that difficult
actually-
thing, and this is why it's very tough when we talk about that. People, to say it's fly-by-wire, obviously you have no throttle cable whatsoever. You have a demand sensor at the throttle.
Right.
Okay. So you're turning a spring that is only there to bring it back, and you're turning that past a rheostat, for lack of a better term, and that's your demand sensor for how much power you want.
Requesting.
You're requesting. Thank you.
Don't some BMWs have this in steering now?
Yes,
too?
they do. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah.
So when we looked at that system, which was out for a very, very short period of time, only a few motorcycles had it, everyone universally hated it because it was like you were riding a motorcycle video game because it was literally, you were just turning a knob like you would for your ceiling fan or anything else.
Like a zero.
And it had a return spring on it. Exactly. Now,
But I didn't get that feeling.
the
from
solution for that was to put the cables back in. So you put the cables back in, and on many motorcycles, when the cable is pulled, the cable is literally opening up a butterfly. The butterfly is opening, and that's letting air in, and the computer goes, more air, more gas. The computer says, we have a pressure sensor that detects the volume of air that's moving past this orifice, and then we will turn the amount of fueling up in the fuel injector, the squirt's duration and frequency up to match the air that's coming in. So you're basically saying letting more air into the system, the computer is matching the air with fuel. Now, that is one method. The other method is a remote fly-by-wire system where your cables come down off your throttle and go to a demand sensor that's just located down by the ECU. And then when you turn that just twists a knob on the ECU that then says, okay, we're going to open this orifice a
And
given
there's a
amount.
servo on the
I see.
butterfly.
Exactly.
I see.
A servo on that.
So that's like those drum brake conversions that has the cable from the lever to a master cylinder
Yes,
somewhere else.
Exactly. Right, and that's like all the Vespas that have that. They literally, and BMW does that, where they have a cable, a very short cable that goes to a master cylinder that's over here.
Right.
So that's what that is. So anyway, I digress. But in those situations, anybody who has a motorcycle that feels snatchy, what I would recommend to do is, first of all, lower your octane down to the lowest octane that you can run in the bike, and the bike still performs well and doesn't stall, right? Then the second thing you do is disconnect your red terminal, your positive terminal on your battery, leave it disconnected, shunt it out to the frame so you get any battery storage that's in your ECU out. You're basically emptying the battery of its capacitive charge in the ECU. Then reconnect the battery.
Cinch is going to catch on fire here in a minute.
It's a good fire. Reconnect the ECU, reconnect the battery, rather, and then turn the bike on, start the bike using only the button, don't touch the throttle whatsoever. Because if you do that, then what will happen is your throttle position will reset. You're doing a hard TPS reset. And a throttle position reset, I guarantee that you don't ride your bike today the way you rode it when you bought it. You've become better at riding your bike.
Right.
So the bike has learned the way you started riding it, and then it was done. Well, if you do a TPS reset, it will relearn the way you ride the bike now. And now that now that you're no longer a sissy and you're no longer putting 93 octane in your bike, and you're putting 89 or 87 in your bike, because it turns out it does work anyway.
Right.
If you're doing that and you're driving the bike more aggressively because now you know the bike better, wouldn't it be great if you could reset your computer to the way you drive now?
Right.
And I think that with most of our customers, when we do that, they're like, well, shit, you fixed my bike. It's not snatchy anymore. I'm like, yeah, we didn't fix it.
So why do guys...
The bike programmed itself to the way you rode when you bought it.
So let me ask you this then. So so like for the Super 10 race, I've never done it because I kind of enjoy like the sluggishness of touring mode, whatever, and then sport, it's kind of snatchy. But a lot of guys get their ECUs reprogrammed.
Absolutely. Yep.
So they reflash them.
Yep.
And the guys have software and they build maps and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, is that completely different than reflashing?
Yes. So what I'm doing is using the existing mapping that the factory put in the bike.
Okay.
But what I'm doing is most computers these days, most ECUs, have what's called an adaptive parameters window. And they're not literally set in stone. They have these high points and low points they're allowed to operate within. But it gives you a little bit of wiggle room for what octane gas you're running, maybe what kind of pipe you got on there, maybe what your altitude is, and more importantly, the way you ride the bike.
Right.
When you reset the throttle position sensor, you do a TPU reset, a TPS reset, what it's doing is it's going, oh, I'm a brand new bike again. My virginity's been restored, right?
The old
so it's like, it feels like the first time, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to relearn you. And what these bikes do is they learn you and they hang on to that. Well, the problem is when you first learned the bike and the bike learned you, that was a long time ago.
Yep.
And now you're different and the bike's different.
That's kind of weird because how is the bike supposed to feel?
Exactly.
You know, that's what I like about old bikes is it doesn't learn me. It's kind of snatchy. It's like, okay, that's just how the bike is.
And
You get what you get.
right.
we have done this many, many times where somebody will take a bike and they'll just buy a slip-on silencer. They'll buy a slip-on exhaust. And they'll buy a slip-on part, they'll put it on the bike, and the bike will run like shit.
Yeah.
And they bring the bike in, and the first thing I do is I disconnect the battery, I take the positive terminal, I shunt it to the frame, and then I put it back together, and then I take the bike, I start the bike using the starting button only, I don't hit the throttle at all, I do a baseline start, then I turn the bike off after 2 or 3 minutes of running, I do it again, let the bike run for 2 or 3 minutes. I don't touch the gas. I don't touch the throttle. I shut it off. I do that 2 or 3 times. Then I get on the bike and I ride it like I fucking stole it. And then I ride it and I'm like, wow, the bike loves this pipe. The bike feels so much better than it did before. I call the customer, say, it's done. Come and get your bike. He rides out of here, giant smile on his face. His spark plugs are clean. He gets better fuel mileage and his teeth are shiny.
That's what I did with the 135.
Yeah.
I did it. You told me to do that, and I did it.
And it changes things.
Yeah, it really did.
If that doesn't work, then look into doing a power commander. Then look into doing some ECU modification. But the ECUs have parameters built into them that they can change and you'll be amazed at the results without
they
spending money.
They have to, because with EFI, so we're buying the 135s or the 302s or any of the bikes that you have EFI here at 410 feet above sea level.
600 feet above sea level.
But the same bike is being sold to a guy at
9,000 feet.
9,000 feet, whatever, right?
It's got to run.
It has
on pump gas.
Right.
A lot of the gas stations I went to were great. I took a couple of pictures. You had your choice, 2 pumps, 87 or 87 with no ethanol.
Oh, wow.
That was a big choice. 87 or 87. No 91, no 93.
Price difference?
10 cents.
Wow.
Oh, all day long.
Yeah, 10 cents.
Shit.
Yeah, 10 or 20 cents. One pump I went to, it was the lowest octane I saw on the trip was 83. I could have bought 83 octane gas.
That'd be at high altitude.
Super
though,
high
right?
altitude, 10,000 feet. Yeah,
You know what's funny? I was digging through
high octane, high altitude, low octane. Yep.
So with my 850s, my Suzuki 850s, I got one of the original manuals, and I got a couple of Klein manuals, whatever.
Right.
The best thing in the Klein thing, I got to winter storage, and this was written in 1981, right?
Sure.
And it was like, drain the tank completely, empty the float bowls, like do all this stuff, or get gas with no ethanol.
Right. Yep.
Like in the book from
In the
like
book.
1981. Yeah.
Well, this is the fun thing about being out west and seeing the different stuff, because you can buy red dyed diesel there, and it's cheaper than gas. Like it, so it's a great place to buy diesel, and just their whole fuel system is very, like the way they approach fuel is very different. Now my van has a very accurate miles per gallon gauge, and it has been very accurate. I've tested it many times. The best mileage I got on my trip was running 85 non-ethanol. So it's the weirdest thing. 85 octane, which I've got an FFV, Ford, it detects, right? But the 85 octane non-ethanol that I bought, put a tank full of that in it, I got 19 and a half miles per gallon. When usually in that van, I get about 16, 17 miles per gallon. Wow. So I picked up 2.5 miles per gallon, which 2.5 miles per gallon at 36 gallons is fucking 72 miles. Well, 72 miles at 19 miles per gallon, that's freaking 4 gallons of gas. So by getting such good mileage, I saved 4 gallons of gas at $2.50 a gallon, $10. So because that 85,
That's a bucket of chicken.
Yeah, it is.
See, and I used to do experiments with this, okay?
Yeah.
And because I when I used to fly, the planes have all the charts on like fuel consumption at different altitudes.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So the best consumption was at higher altitudes.
Absolutely.
I mean, just the charts show you that.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, why not take a car and make it like fake
high pressure.
Fake low pressure.
Low pressure, right.
Yeah, low pressure.
Right.
In order to, it reduces
make it run
the
in a vacuum
performance.
at all times.
Your performance goes down, but your mileage goes up.
The anti-turbocharger.
No, so what I did was I blocked off my intake.
Yeah.
And I put a
Create more
variable
vacuum.
No, I cut a hole in the airbox.
Right.
And I put a variable orifice in there so that it, like the intake hole for the whole entire engine was 1 inch in diameter. So that when it
I had a
would create
V8
the
motor
vacuum,
running through a Honda Metropolitan airbox.
it was actually my Tundra. That's probably why my head gasket finally blew. But it did. But I went from 18
I didn't have any
miles
air
per
volume,
gallon.
but my God, my air velocity was incredible.
But the highest I ever got out of that engine,
That configuration
was 23.5 miles to a gallon, and it would normally get 16 to 18.
Wow. Yeah.
But with fooling around and reducing the volume that was coming in, I finally got up to 23.
Yeah, I was getting remarkably good mileage out west. Scary.
That's what a VVT is. That's what the Kia here has, a variable volume intake. And so it has vanes that close up and decrease the size
the volume of the airbox.
The intake and blend them actually. And then, at higher RPMs or when you really get on it, it opens up and then that's, more
I'm
volume.
suing then because it was my idea first.
All right, so back to Rand. So anyway, he said, long way up is missing a Russian fellow with a guitar and an AK-47. Yes, we're all missing a Russian fellow with a guitar and an AK-47. That's one of my favorite parts of the long way round. When they got invited to the guy's house and they're like, hey, we're going to play music and here's my guns. Phil, I just thought of a great game. You need to give Ewan a call. All of us will give an over and under of how many times he's... Shit. All of us will give over and under at how many times he scored strange on the road during the long way around.
I pondered that concept. I'm like, to be Ewan McGregor and just walking around knowing that,
just being Ewan McGregor, right?
Like, I know that this woman would probably sex me, and this woman would too, and so with that one, it's just I guess you get used to it. You
must
just understand.
Right.
You maybe tried it out. Like, okay, I'm going to just see, and then you get like, whoa. Then it gets weird. You're probably like, no, it's not as cool as you think. It's
probably
kind of
not.
a curse,
Well, that and how many of these women are going to chase you down later with some kid that's right. Exactly.
With the alcohol.
Right. With the alcohol. All right, Steve Hoffert. Speculator sounds wonderful. I'm happy you have the little piece of happiness out there. I remember going to that area with my first ex-wife. To her father's family cabin in that area. Her after was this guy that had flown propeller aircraft over Vietnam, or her father. Her father was this guy who had flown propeller aircraft over Vietnam during the war for recon. Then the fucking Warthog. Wow. Then taught theoretical mathematics at Rensselaer, I guess. He said, I was a meat cutter. Sorry, her father was more impressed with the pilot. He was so impressed with me. I remember when we first went to the cabin, first we had us a bottle of Jack. We had to bottle Jack to jack the corner of the cabin up to make it level. I would think that a war pilot flying a Gatling gun wielding super mathematician could keep the floor level, but I guess not. So I guess ultimately, Rand, you're smarter than the guy who could fly a Warthog and be a math professor. The worst part of it is he looked like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. That said, I hope he's not listening to this. Scares the fuck out of me. Jesus.
He's listening.
I think we're going to call him next. Charlie, I can't believe he took the time to send me an email that he got through a buddy of his. I will always have a very special reserve for him. Sorry, Charlie, not Charlie. Phil, nothing to pass on here. Total dribble. Just delete and talk about mid-'80s Nard guards on box bikes. Way more interesting than the crap I'm spouting off about. BMX bikes, not bus bikes. Fucking Apple word, correct? Fuck you, Apple. You never popped a chub like I did over the glossy chrome sex machine that was a GT BMX bike back in the 80s. Yes, I did. For the record, I had a chrome Murray Baja, which was the first mountain bike.
I had a Hutch.
You had a Hutch?
Hutch with the black and
Mine
white.
had gold wheels.
Black and white checkers, which might have had my whole life changed to
because of that fucking Hutch.
And I had a brown Huffy.
You guys remember how cool it was to have a box bike as a kid with the ultra hard plastic narrow seat? Boy, I do. Yeah, that was. He didn't say box bike. He means BMX bike.
I had a Huffy Thunder Road.
Yes,
and that's
a loaf of bread seat.
Yeah, so I busted that seat
instantly.
That's how I put a hole in my chest.
Remember glass bottles of soda like Mountain Dew that had a really thin wrap of styrofoam around them? Boy, I always get so nostalgic on these rants. I just want to go back. I'm so tired of working so hard. Whoa, delete. I think I want to sell my trusty R1200 GS for something lighter after my last outing. So he includes a photograph of the vintage bottles with the styrofoam wrap around them.
Oh, wow.
Because I do remember those, and they did keep the pop hella cold. Remember those?
Yeah, they did.
The styrofoam wrap around the glass bottle? Yeah. Kids, I need a cold drink, and they need to be challenged. My great-great-great-granddaddy fought to save the Union. I think our kids can put down their phones and video games and come up with a day to deal with trash. In the meantime, I'm going to fuel their challenges. I wish my Diet Red Bull would come with an insulator. Tastes like shit after sitting in my console for a while. Makes me cranky and bitter.
It's called a koozie.
I'm way more magnanimous when I'm caffeinated. Applicable to motorcycles, absolutely nothing. The pinnacle of cold beverage presentation. It gets 10 stars. I know, it's not helpful to the environment. Steve H., I have a subdivision where I have my sewer line slope at 0.0040. That's the state's maximum minimum. The local jurisdiction is freaking out. 004. Thoughts?
You need 3 pumps.
Charging them for advice here.
You need at least 3 pumps.
You need at least 3 pumps.
No,
I recommend a variable frequency drive running on an Arduino. Raspberry Pi. You got to run that shit on Linux because nobody would run that shit on.
I would run at least 3 UV filters on that.
Yeah, exactly.
I know for a fact that shit does not flow uphill.
It does not.
Well, you've never had the gas and problems that I've had.
They think they're going to have to clean out twice a month. They need shit to do. They're cracking myself up. Sorry, clean out the line twice a month. Steve, I think we need to start up Grumpy Sewer Guy's treatment podcast. I guarantee most of the young engineers these days don't have any idea what the fuck's going on. I'm not a PE.
Hey. What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, come on, this stuff's
Come on, Rand. Nick is sitting here. He's listening to you, goddamn it. All right. I'm not a PE. I've been doing it for 17 years and train a lot of our private design engineers. Whoa, I just snapped out of my work brain and realized I was spouting off about. Steve is my shitty brother and I lost focus. Steve, I really fucked up. Steve, I really fucked up. I told you I'm not a PE. I think what I'm going to tell you now can be helpful to a lot of kids, like the kids that listen to this podcast. I was a bad student from the start. I was way more interested in Knight Rider and Voltron than doing homework. My folks didn't go to college. So there was no imperative to attend, so I didn't. I was a meat cutter for a very long time. What a great job. I learned it. I do it, go home, went back out, couldn't cut. Jesus, what the fuck am I spouting off about? Kawasaki teased a bunch of stuff today.
Yeah. Hey, meat cutter is better than a meat blower.
Yeah. Their last video clip was an off-road. A new KLR?
I know.
What do you think? Phil, sorry. Total crap. I know it. I don't feel compelled to talk about any of this. Oh, no, Rand. I talked about all of it.
Yeah, we talked about
how many fingers does he have?
I don't know. Meat cutters usually don't have 10. They usually have like...
The best ones still have them all.
My brother-in-law's been a cutter for 30 years. Still has all of his fingers.
Wow. Still has all of his fingers? Yeah.
But he's missing something else.
My problem is I wouldn't, because I get in a hurry with things.
Yeah.
And I know that if I got in a hurry with being in that job, I'd be done. There's no way. Shark gloves or no shark gloves. I wouldn't have all my fingers.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's Rand, so that was cool.
That was definitely
cool.
And
that was great. And I did want to read this one because this is fucking short. Andrew Taylor. Hello, I just wanted to say I enjoy the shit out of the podcast. Dick and fart jokes are right up my alley. I came down from Detroit and purchased a gray 2020 S150. And he writes in parentheses, 150. Literally one FIDDY in July from your shop. And it was a great experience. Renee was amazing, made it very easy for me, and the process was top notch under current COVID situation. I would have loved to have a chance to spit rhymes with the shop, but you were all super busy and I'm not a time-consuming attention whore. And I respect everyone's hustle in the COVID age of craziness. Hopefully, when you allow people back into the podcast to speculate, I will jump in my 91 Honda Civic and bring a 6-pack of Ghetto Blaster down and participate from Contestants Row.
Oh, yeah. You should do that.
My buddy purchased a bike from the English dealer down the road over a year ago, so we stopped in and talked to Phil. It was a lazy, rainy day, and we went on for over an hour. It was a very fresh breath of air, as all dealers in Detroit are arrogant fucks. Arrogant dicks. As soon as we left the shop, I needed to sell some shit because I'm buying a bike from CM, and here we are again. Again, I appreciate the podcast and the shop employees. Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Yeah,
Fuck,
well
dude.
done.
Yeah, that's rock on, dude. And yeah,
as long as he's not buying a CM.
And no, if you come down in your 91 Honda, bring it on, man. That's right where we live. So that's fucking cool. I hope you're enjoying your S150. Very fucking cool. But I thought that was fun.
So I wanted to mention something.
Yeah.
So, it's a fairly nice fall evening here in Cleveland. And look at
fairly nice. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, right.
Yeah, right.
Look at the gaggle.
October.
Look at the gaggle of awesome motorcycles we all rode tonight.
Oh yeah,
there is definitely a whole plethora of different things.
There
going
is.
on over
Yeah.
there.
So I rode the 75 BMW R90
right
/6.
So we've got the 70s taken care of.
So the 70s are definitely taken care of. Yeah.
I have 100% 1980 GS 850.
And it is
the silver
gorgeous.
one. Thank you.
It is gorgeous. Your paintwork on that is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
I thought it was Chris Smith pulling up.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Smith,
you weren't in day glow.
Oh, that's true.
High vis, please.
It's true.
I have a strip of it on my jacket. Thank you very much. Chris prefers all day glow and one strip of something else.
Nice.
That's fine though. That's fine. And what else we got? So you rode your American, or American? What is it? American. Tri-American.
Yep.
Yep.
What year is that?
10.
10?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we skipped a decade then.
Well, what's your bandit?
Well, it's a 91.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got the 90s take. We got the 70s, 80s, 90s. We don't have the early 2000s taken care
Who
of.
rode the monkey?
early
Did you
aughts.
ride the monkey?
You rode the monkey.
So you rode the
Yes,
monkey.
that's modern. Yeah.
Oh, Smith drove. You drove, right? Because you brought all the snacks and
I got
booze.
04.
Oh, there we go. We've got it covered.
Yeah.
I wanted to ride the Transalp because it's sitting in the garage at work.
Yeah.
But I had to bring the dump truck home. So unfortunately, I look at that every day, and I'm like, that is rapidly becoming my favorite. The most beautiful looking bike that I have.
So I
love that bike.
On those roads up to Jerome. Actually, I had left Jerome and was riding down. I was riding out, and you know how those roads are just super tight switchbacks. They're right on top of each other, and I got the van, and I get a lot going on. And as I make this 180-degree climb, this transition, I look over to the left, and I see a guy standing next to a white Transel, like perfect, and I just yelled at him, "Great Transel!" And he was like taking a piss or doing whatever he's doing, right? He's hiding.
He turns and pisses on his bike.
No, but he just turns around and he got this giant smile on his face, like he knows what my motorcycle is.
Yeah.
This guy was so happy that I could identify his. The dude just shot his fist up in the air and smiled, and I was like,
and then fell 700 feet down into the ravine.
Fuck yeah, man!
And then Phil got the Transel.
I was so, and it was really nice too. It was real clean. And when I was like, "Nice Transalp" or "Great Transalp," and he was like, "Yeah," that made his fucking day.
Right? Well, when you're on a motorcycle and somebody yells at you, it's going to go one of two ways.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's either like they're making
real bike
fun
fag,
of you,
right,
or they love your shit.
Bike. Right, they love your bike. That is all there is to it. They love their bike.
I'm not like, so somebody compliments my bike or something, I'm like, what do you like, nice bike? And I'm like, what do you mean nice bike?
What do you mean nice bike? No, it's not for sale. Fuck you.
Are you really saying it's a nice bike?
You're trying to be sarcastic? Yeah. And that's the cool, that is the great thing.
So you have a lot of these for sale. So if anybody wants one, Phil has these for sale. But my TNT 135, I went down the street on Lee Road to go get some beer at this place. And there was like one of those like $90,000 super custom fucking baggers, like the 36-inch front wheels, the whole fucking thing.
A donk, yeah.
And so I parked next to him. And I came out from buying the beer, and there was 4 people standing around the 135, and the guy sitting on his fucking thing just giving me the fucking
He was so angry.
Eye.
He's so angry.
Everybody's asking, "Whoa, what is this? Where do you get it?" Cool. And he's got like all day, like he has a fucking Cirque du Soleil show going on underneath the motorcycle and everything else.
Right.
And nobody gives a fuck. They're like,
got
okay,
a button,
dude.
fog comes out and shit. No, it doesn't matter. You get a Chinese 135, and everyone's like, they're going, "Oh my god, it's so cool."
I love the green. Is that a stock color? Yeah.
Everyone's going.
Phil has
nuts.
those. He has
Dude, they're.
those.
I will give. So yeah, since you brought that up, they're doing 1% financing.
Wow. That's free money.
It's
almost.
free money. Yeah. Yes, they're doing 1% financing right now on the TNT 135s and TNT 302s.
This is not a paid advertisement.
This is not a paid advertisement.
If somebody wants one of those, how much cash do they have to bring you?
Not much. I sell all my bikes on $500 down. So if you bring me $500 down, then we're gonna do your financing, get you set up.
Perfect.
So, okay, but if you don't have $500 in your pocket, it's just ethics on my part. I don't think you should be riding. Look.
Here's the bus station.
Other people will sell you a bike on no money down.
Station,
and I can't sell you a bike on no money down. But I think if you don't have $500 in your pocket, you need to make other decisions.
Yep.
There's other things in your life that are more important.
Like food.
Yeah, like food, right?
Cigarettes.
Exactly. And cigarettes, apparently. Cigarettes,
you have 15,
maybe your rent.
Yeah.
You don't need to drive fast and take chances. You need to get a job and work.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
But luckily, when the second stimulus check comes out, you will have that
I do have that strong
$500
feeling about, like, if you're financing a motorcycle and you don't have $500 to put down, no. Dave Ramsey would not agree with that.
No.
Yeah, he would not think that's a good program.
There's no snowball going on there.
No. You need to really get your shit together a little bit.
So,
and I've made those mistakes in my childhood where I was just like, oh, come on, it's only $113 a month for the next 7 years.
So I need a group consensus.
Yeah.
The end of an era might be upon me.
Okay.
So being that I'm a broken human being and I can't do the off-road things and stuff anymore, and I realized that with the quads and things, I was on the Super T and I was trying to take it through a bunch of like turns and twists and stuff. And it was like, it was fun, but it wasn't as exciting as it could be.
Right.
And so I have 3 offers right now to trade for the Yamaha. What's the come on, brain.
Triumph?
The 09. The
FZ09?
No, not the FC, the FJ09.
FJ09. Okay.
So it's basically like the same bike, but more road oriented.
Right. It is more. Yeah.
It does wheelies in third gear with no clutch.
Oh yeah, it's a fast bike. Yeah.
So what do you think? I'm kind of going toward this direction. I think that's more realistic for where we live and what we do and the roads. And
the one thing about the Super T that it is really good at is it's a touring bike.
Right.
I mean, fuck using it off road as a dirt bike. It's really not. A dirt bike's a dirt bike.
It is, and if you have the time of life to go for 2 weeks and travel 26,000 miles, it's the great bike for that.
Yeah, but as far as like an FJ09 is not going to be very good at getting your shit from point A to point B.
Well, they have bags and stuff.
know.
I mean, it's a big upright. I mean, it looks like a Super T that was on a diet and had road tires slapped on it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's a 3-cylinder.
Right. Yeah.
Torquey as shit.
Oh, absolutely. They're really good bikes.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you stick with the Yamaha, you'll never go wrong.
No.
Yamahas are just great bikes.
Oh my God. That sounds great.
That is coming out of that little Yamaha Civic.
Yamaha Civic.
Wow.
I'm sorry, that little Honda
I'm
Civic.
gonna go tighten up his license plate.
That license plate is so offensive. Yeah, I mean, like, that's a fail. When you
That's
got,
amazing.
That can't sound good in the car.
No, inside the car, it's got to sound awful.
That's
Oh, that's awful.
Something's loose.
Everything. I think that's his rear hatch.
I have a
glass.
pair of hair clippers that sounds better.
I do. Yeah.
And that brings up the question: why does nobody put fart can mufflers on Prius?
I'm pretty.
Oh man.
well, it's hard to go from a half-inch pipe
Right.
to a 6-inch pipe.
to a giant coffee can. You could do it.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
feeling like this might be a thing, and
Yeah,
like
it could be.
it's hard for me to say that, but I might end up doing this.
You know, and if you're not doing long trips, you don't need the long trip bike. Do it. You know,
Yeah.
that's it. The thing that's funny is the sport bikes are just, there's no value in them at all anymore. Like
No.
nobody wants a sport bike. Dealers can't sell them. They can't get rid of them. At the dealerships I stopped at that had like 21 bikes left, they were all sport bikes. You know, so all the adventure bikes, all the Versys, all that kind of shit, that was all gone. It's all just gone. The only bikes on their floor are like sport bikes.
Well, I'm sure it has a lot to do with COVID, because when you're riding by yourself and you can only ride for 20 minutes, where you have to stop for 2 hours and get your back adjusted, it doesn't work very well.
That's true. And if, you know, I think that our culture is not like I'm pretending to be Ricky Racer.
Right.
So I don't think that's become cool
Well,
anymore.
and on top of that, so like if you go back 25 years, the most you had to worry about was low siding, high siding, fucking hitting your buddy or whatever.
Right.
Now every single person on the road is doing something else.
Yep,
So
that's
like you
absolutely
can't
true.
be going fast and get murdered.
It's tougher to be on a high-speed bike these days than it used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And there's also just less appeal to it.
But the cost of the sport bikes have gone up to the point, like the CBR 1000 RR or whatever is like $18,000.
Yeah, it is true. And there's also for literally 1/3 of the money, I can get the exact same performance out of a bike from 2004.
Or how about this? Back in the day, you got a sport bike because the performance was insane, and the standard bikes was not.
Right.
But now you can get a bike like an FJ09 or an FZ09 or something where you can still go 160 miles an hour.
Oh my God!
But you're not sucking your own wiener trying to fucking hold on to the
I
thing.
had here before I sold that bike.
Yeah.
Every time I would ride it, it made me way happier than my R1.
Right.
So like the difference between the FZ09 and the R1 was the FZ09 was way easier to ride.
Right.
And it was way more controllable. The R1, I'm not on the racetrack. I don't need an R1.
Right.
So there's no back straight for me to go 180 miles an hour on. So I don't need that. So
no, especially when there's somebody texting that's going to just cut you off and murder you.
Yeah, and that's true. So I did. You know, once I got that FZ09, my desire to ride the R1 dropped dramatically.
Right.
But neither one of them was worth anything. So the R1 wasn't worth anything, and the FZ09 wasn't worth anything. So they didn't carry a ton of value.
Well, that's kind of everything.
Whereas
the
Super T right now has a lot of value, a lot of demand because it's an adventure bike.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it'll sell, but like the value, it's a pretty solid standard $8,000.
Absolutely,
like right around there. Like as long as it's not beat up or trash.
Where the FZ09s aren't really bringing that kind of money.
No, they're like 7. Like and good thing. Exactly. And that's one of the trades is a 2019.
Yeah.
It doesn't have all the gear, but it's brand new. It has 2,000 miles on it.
Yep.
It's not my favorite. It looks like it's primer.
It does. Yeah, they do. Mine. The one that I had was black and gray primer and black primer.
Yeah.
Those are the colors on the bike. When you said you were thinking about a Triumph Tiger,
I was
just like the same bike.
It is, but everybody said that the motor's way better and that it's much more streetable.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This guy, it was a pretty good deal. It had way less miles. Everything was good about it.
Yeah.
He neglected to say that he was in Utah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Well,
kind of
I thought he was in Indiana.
That's
Gonna
what I
meet ya.
thought too, because on his thing it said Indiana. He's like, "Oh no, I moved to Utah." I was like,
Yeah.
"Well,
the other
that's
thing is-
that's a whole different ball game."
There's
dude.
something I have ethically about trading the world's most reliable motorcycle, which is the Yamaha.
yeah,
for
a
Triumph.
right? Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's what I was thinking of that too.
I'm like,
I like Yamahas. I really do.
I do like
Yeah.
Yamahas too, and I didn't always like Yamahas, but I think that Yamahas in the past 10 years have earned their reputation as being the most reliable motorcycle you can buy.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. Especially like the workhorse, like the Super T and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that the FZ09's right there with it.
Yeah,
There's guys turning them in with 75,000 miles and the thing's running perfect.
Oh, yeah, they're-
no
they're
valve
fine.
adjustment or anything.
No. So, Chris, have you been riding your Cali?
I have.
And are you liking your Cali?
I do.
Getting used to that big girl?
Yeah. It's a biggie.
It's a big girl.
You didn't ride it last week, though. I was expecting to see
was
you on
raining.
it. No, we went for a ride and he
Yeah.
rode his Duster. What do you call that thing?
Drifter.
His Duster.
Drifter.
74 Duster does. Last six.
Drifter. Sorry.
Dodge Duster.
Yeah, right. Drifter. Sorry.
Plymouth Duster. Isn't
Plymouth Duster. Yeah, there you go.
Dodge Dart.
it? Yeah.
No, the big question everyone wants to know, though, is did you get rid of the GIMP license plate holder?
No, he's wearing it
Actually,
right now.
I wear it around my upper thigh.
That's exactly how yeah. It just turned it into a weirdo fucking, what do they call those? Garter? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a weird garter.
Or a
Yeah.
new COVID mask.
But I mean, okay, so I mean that is a big bike. That Cali's a big bike, and with the hard bags, so that motorcycle has crash bars that go outside of the hard bags, and the crash bars do actually go to the frame. So the crash
4 feet
bars
wide.
aren't decorative. So the bike has these giant over 35 liter hard bags on the back, but then they put the crash bars on and made it even fucking wider. So it is wider than that Harley Davidson, Tour Classic there.
So you have to pay the extra $15 to go through the
Car wash. Go through the tunnel at Zion? Yes. Yeah, you have to pay an extra $15 to go through the tunnels at Zion.
Well, we had to blow out the side of the garage.
He did. Exactly. Says, yeah, it's a big bike. They're wide, and so you have to learn how wide they are.
It's a
You're
good
throwing your
looking
leg
fucking
over it.
bike, though,
Yeah.
man. It's a good looking
Well, I
bike.
got to learn how to use it. I tried to. There's a little button for the heated grips.
Yeah.
Fucker didn't work for me.
Oh, really?
Oh my
Yeah.
god. So.
Okay.
So I got to find some sort of a manual to figure out.
He turned the heated seat on. It was 92, and he's like, "Fuck, I'm on fire."
My balls are sweating.
Take it back. Get your money's worth.
Yeah, get money back.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You might have to spend $4 fixing that. That would be horrible. That blows your whole
yeah,
deal.
So definitely get an owner's manual and figure it out. Did you ask James if we had an owner's manual
I
kicking
did
around?
not, but
Ask him if we have a 1400 owner's manual kicking around. So, but go get one, print one out. Or whatever.
because I can't look at that little 3x5.
Your phone screen?
No. The little book that comes with it.
Yeah.
It's about this big.
Oh, yeah.
It says Moto, and it's about 1 point type.
Yeah.
Plus, you can't read. So those two
Well,
things.
that, yeah.
It's Braille. It's Braille.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, play around with it, figure that out. 'Cause that bike does have so much going for it.
You still got the deal of the year, though.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very.
Well, I
very
bounced
cool.
the check on him. So what?
It's even a better
It's
deal.
even a better deal.
Because it only cost him the $35 surcharge.
Right. Exactly. It cost me $35 to buy this bike. Yep. No problem. It's
Oh,
perfect.
And he negotiated that off his thing because he was a good customer.
Well, it was very funny that the first bike, I got home this morning at 6, and then I went to sleep, and I woke up at about noon or 1 o'clock, and I wanted to go take a ride because it's so nice out.
Yeah.
And so I opened up my garage door, and in this order, so I got the Tiki Warrior Vespa, modern GTS 300 sitting there,
Super nice bike.
and I've got the Versys with all the bags on it,
Super nice bike.
and then I've got that.
Super nice bike.
The BMW sitting there, 75 BMW, and I was like, what am I going to ride? And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to take the BMW. And I was like, yeah, I haven't ridden a motorcycle in 10 or 11 days. And then I realized when I got on, I was like, why did I pick the bike that has the worst brakes? Right? It literally has the front brake, the front rotor on it is like,
Oh, no.
it's wavy gravy, man. And it is just the biggest, like, hook. And the brakes aren't great on the bike to begin with. And let alone that, with a front brake that is like if you go at it aggressively, it literally skids the front tire.
Right.
So,
but you get the oil smell. You get the
it was
side
very
boxer
sensory,
motor.
and I brought my laptop in, so the laptop fit in the saddlebags, which is it didn't fit, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't fit because the saddlebag lids close from the front to the back.
Right.
So the laptop case didn't fit, but it didn't matter because the
not
bag
going anywhere.
is hinged the other way, right?
Right.
Exactly. It's not going anyway.
But
so.
it's I sat on it when we were all talking before, and it's comfortable.
Oh, it's a real comfy bike,
man.
Yeah, it's a very comfy
You
bake.
just bring it down Lake Road then, or
Yeah, go on the Lake
90?
Road and get on 90, and and then I went down to Metro Parks for half an hour. So, my commute into work, if I take the freeway, it takes me less than 30 minutes, and it's a little bit of Lake Road and a little bit of freeway, so it's nice. And then, but taking it down the Metro Parks and playing around the Metro Parks for half an hour, 45 minutes, just it's a very fine bike from 1975, or it's exactly what it should be.
Did you learn the starting procedure that Dan just learned about his bike recently?
Well, so I will tell you that this is not my first old BMW.
Okay.
And so if you have the Bing carbs, so the way that they set those enricheners up on those is when on the side of the motor, there's this lever that is has two cables coming off of it. And if you twist the lever down, it's clockwise. If you twist it clockwise, these two cables go in and they open up these two passageways. And the two passageways are just little plungers, metal plungers. They have little leather seats in the bottom or rubber seats in the bottom. And those are essentially enricheners, okay? And the trick is you can't touch the throttle at all. If you touch the throttle, you're flooded out.
It sucks in 24 gallons of gas.
Yes, exactly.
from a 6-gallon tank.
Yeah.
Well,
It just appears.
it's because the float bowls on those bikes are very deep. I mean, those bikes carry a lot of gas in the float bowls. Each float bowl is like 8 ounces.
Each carb is this fucking
I know, they're
big,
really
dude.
big.
Yeah.
That's
They're
why like the
Cool, though,
ticklers.
because the float balls come off
Ticklers
like a
are the way to go.
Grolsch bottle
They do.
cap. You flip the
wire
wire
bar.
over and the bowl
It's like an old
drops off.
carburetor on a 37 Chrysler. You didn't need any tools. You just took the banjo thing off the bottom and the float bowl came on. Throw the gas on the side of the road. The rust goes with it. Put it back on again. I'm surprised they're not made of glass, right? So you can see what was going on.
That's
would be
a good
cool.
idea.
My old cars, I used to have a lot of pre-war cars. I used to mess around with that shit.
Yeah.
And my 39 Buick and my 37 Chrysler that I grew up with both had glass float bowls.
Makes sense.
And so the sediment would all get caught in there, and you could look in there and go, oh, it's full of rust. Dump it on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Tractors are like that. The
Tractors
bowls
are
have
like
a
that. Yeah. My old
glass
Ford
bowl.
diesels were like that. They had a glass filter, square cut glass, looked like a glass block window.
Yeah.
And you could see how much shit was in it. So, it's very practical. When you're laying on your back underneath the diesel on the side of the road, it's not running because you ran it out of gas.
Right.
That's where you put the diesel. When you're running out of diesel. But anyway, yeah, on those, if you breathe on the throttle, you'll never get it started. So, but on this one, if you just activate the enrichener and press the start button, it starts beautifully. I mean, it doesn't hesitate at all, and it needs like 60 seconds to warm up, and then you're off the enrichener and away you go. Off you fuck. But they're just very. I mean, they're very predictable. But it is one of those bikes that they flood out. If you leave them on the side stand, they flood out. They're like they just don't. They don't like anything that's not normal.
The Uralo's the same way, but it's got that shutter.
Yep.
It's got a shutter on the intake.
No, you literally shut a butterfly on to choke it.
Right.
Like the choke
Plus
on the
it's got
Ural
enrichers.
is actually a choke.
Yeah.
It's an strangulator.
It's a strangulator. Exactly.
So that thing, you have to be, I mean, there's a procedure there too. You have to put that thing, but not all the way close. It's got to be open like 3 millimeters.
I was going to say
And then
3/4 of the way close.
Slowly push the pedal down. Gently put the Kickstarter down and then give it one hard kick and it'll start with one kick every time. But if you don't do that, forget it. You'll never start it.
Well, and I mean, honestly, that's a problem with...
Borscht comes out the exhaust.
And that's a problem with all these bikes that were essentially cleaned up for the American market, because in their original configuration with ticklers and stuff, like my old 71,
Ticklers are the best.
You literally just go into there and you start hitting the tickler on the bottom of the carburetor until gas gets on your hand.
Yeah.
Too bad the French didn't make a good carburetor.
I know, because it would be the French tickler. I had a German tickler, not a French tickler. And that was always the best. You
And it
just
was
go
like a
down,
whip.
you give that thing a couple
The
of
German tickler scares me.
give that thing a couple of pumps real quick, and as soon as your fingers got wet, the bike could start. Every single time. Yep. As soon as your fingers got wet, she was ready. Go figure. Yeah. And that's all you need to know.
The bike started, but my butthole is very sore.
That's exactly it. So anybody got anything else?
No.
Feels like a fair podcast.
Yeah, no, I think, you know what? Today was pretty informative. Last week,
fair.
we figured out pretty quick that we need to come with more topics.
Oh.
That remember
Did you
toward
guys
the
run out of topics last week?
Yeah, we kind of there was
Chris ran out of consciousness.
Chris also
Oh,
knocked
the rain on the porch just knocked you out.
No, the booze and the pizza knocked him out, and then he also took the mic out at one point when he just fell over and everything else. So yeah, that was that.
I like the fire. I do enjoy
The best was he was like sleep. You were out. And we were like, Chris, take us out. And he was like, what? Oh, yeah, of course.
right back on the clock again.
Yeah.
You don't miss a beat.
We haven't talked about the cost of the two different whiskeys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Also, hold on. So going to a review. So the one whiskey.
I need to pass me that,
All right.
the boat whiskey again.
So you can definitely taste the fact that it was on a boat. That's
Fuck
my
you.
opinion.
Oh,
all right.
No way.
This whiskey is aged on a boat with sea air and salty women and waves
Hose.
Not if I built the
and all the
barrel.
things. And then the other one is just a good whiskey. So that's
The other one
one's
is
just a good
called Forester, or what is that?
Old
other?
Forester.
Old Forester.
Old Forester.
And this is Jefferson's Ocean Aged at Sea.
Yep.
And to give it its due, a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys, a very small batch. On the back, where you'd normally find information about the thing, is just a glyph of a world map.
Oh.
So it is.
I don't like the font on the Jefferson, the front of the Jefferson. It looks like a.
Well, there's 4 different fonts, and that's
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah.
So
And then there's a fishing boat.
And they don't use that font on any of their other whiskeys.
nope.
Really?
Oh, they don't. It's
So-
a mid 80s Starship.
It looks very like late '90s, early 2000s.
It does.
Club.
So
That's how long it's been on the boat.
with the C one, with this one, I found it to be a little bit long and woody with notes of caramel syrup, spice, vanilla, biscuits, and some astringency.
Biscuits.
The finish might be the strongest part of this whiskey. Not totally balanced with the sweet overpowering and the savory medium body with a light soft texture. It's isn't bad, but it isn't great. That is my personal, not read from the internet opinion of
Okay,
this
I'm
whiskey.
gonna read you the tag around the neck of this thing, which I did find yet the 5th typeface on. 5 typefaces on one bottle.
Wow.
All of my-
Fonts matter, people. Fonts
Fuck, my
matter.
God, man. So this is Ocean Aged at Sea. This is Voyage 20 in particular, ship's log.
Oh.
So there's a tag on a bit of an elastic around the
Phil,
neck
make
of the
it
bottle.
so.
Captain's log.
Make it so.
Ocean Voyage 20, left port under clear skies and slight seas. There was a chill in the air at 45 degrees, which warmed as the sun,
And I think
Now
I
we know
sharded.
what you're paying for.
which
That
warmed as the
explains
sun
the,
rose above the fog. It gets better. Trust me, it gets better.
Bring it. Bring
This
it.
is 3 pages.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
The ship's log,
Her heaving
which-
breasts.
which warmed as the sun rose above the fog bank, being held offshore by an offshore breeze. As the wind
we should
increased and the
Rand's
seas became
log.
moderate, the bright sun over the ocean gave it a golden glow that shimmered across the tops of the 4-foot waves and remained such all the way to the north entrance of the Panama Canal. Traffic was light in the canal, and while the humidity was up, the temperature held to the mid-80s. Pulling away from the locks at Balboa and entering the Pacific Ocean, the typhoon season was already 3 months underway. A season unlike the Atlantic hurricane season that extends over a 6 to 7 month period. Typhoons in the Pacific can occur at any time throughout the year. Ocean Voyage 20 was headed south towards the equator, and the storm activity was well to the north. Crossing the equator, the season switched from spring to autumn. Seas were slight, skies were clear, the temperature remained a balmy 85 degrees, and the ocean continued to sparkle like liquid gold. With the exception of a rough spot during our run between Elmert and Fremantle, Voyage 20 had smooth sailing up and around the Pacific Rim, back through the Caribbean, and up the east coast of the United States, and in and out of the North Atlantic. As we docked at 7:40 a.m. in Savannah, Georgia, the sun had heaved over a still golden sea, just as it had upon departure.
Wait a minute.
I can taste all of that.
That is
Every
literally in
nuance.
there. Yes.
Every nuance that they have.
This is on bourbon.
Where did it come from?
It doesn't
Pernod
matter.
Ricard.
It doesn't matter. That adventure is instilled in this
No,
booze.
it does matter.
It does
because-
matter because I'm going to read this to you. This is the important part of any bourbon whiskey. Where did it come from? Pernod Ricard, USA, New York, New York.
Okay, there's that, and there's also the fact that they said they went in through the locks to the Pacific Ocean.
Yes, they did.
and they
then
ended
came
up
back
in
to the East Coast. Yes. That
What's
is
the
actual
point?
right.
Well, they went around the tip and then came through this way just to get that. That's why
I'm
this is
telling
so
you,
good. They went that extra mile,
all
dude.
this is bilge. This is literally ballast. This is keeping the thing from flipping over. All right, I'll read
but
the
I
Old
like
Forester.
it. This is good.
I think
I'll
I
read you
should
the Old
take
Forester.
some whiskey
I'll give it
and
the same
take it on the
justice.
sludge applicator and then write like pros like that.
Established in 1870, the first bottled bourbon, Old Forester Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This whiskey is distilled by us only, and we are responsible for its richness and fine quality. It's elegant. Sorry about that.
He
bud.
had the off-road front wheel.
Thank you.
That was cool.
Its elegant flavor is solely due to original fineness developed with developed with care. Sorry.
Oh, Robert Smith is involved. Excellent.
Yeah, there is nothing better in the market. George Gavin Brown, founder. 100 proof, established in 1870, Old Forester Bourbon Distilling Company. We're going to get this. Continuously cold before, during, and after Prohibition. No, continuously sold before. You understand, this is literally down to a 3-point font on this. I'm wearing good glasses, and I can barely
But it's
read.
not been on a boat, so none of that matters.
Nearly 150 years ago, my great-grandfather, George Garvin Brown, was the first to seal his bourbon in a glass bottle. Prior to that, he used paper bags,
And it was less successful.
Yeah.
ensuring consistency and exceptional quality. He felt
Here's
so
your sack of
strongly-
bourbon. Take it.
He felt so strongly in his convictions that he signed his name to it. Today, I
I
am
know
proud.
if we put this in a glass jar, it could actually make it to the customer. Maybe.
It might work a little better.
we used to serve it just in grape leaves.
Hold your hand out.
Yeah.
Cup them.
Does the Old Forester have a screw cap?
Yes, it does.
Like a good working man.
Like a proper working man's cigarette. That's it. This won't spill in the trunk of your car.
Yeah, but you can't do this. Hold on.
Exactly.
See?
Right. You can't
Yeah.
do that. Right.
This is on a fucking boat, and it does this.
Exactly. And this one is distilled and bottled by Old Forester Distilling at Louisville, Kentucky. Right. So this is a proper Kentucky Old Forester
Right.
bourbon. Yeah.
It didn't go on a cruise for no reason.
It did not go on a literally like.
On a
No, wait,
COVID
hold on.
cruise.
I don't
A trip
believe
to
this was on a. Hold on, hold on.
On a
Let me.
boat.
I would like to see if this has been on a cruise. Yeah, I guess it has been on a cruise.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. So
So I was thinking Steve should have bourbon that's been mellowed in the toilet tank for the
Exactly.
true alcoholic.
It's at the bottom of the digester for
but I do
17
think
years.
I do think Jefferson's. I think Jefferson's is literally loading these things onto a ship,
Oh yeah.
where the ship is going out and doing commerce. What it does, and
Well-
it's a byproduct of the ship doing commerce. that
Right.
this
It gets
is-
on the ship as a $3.17 bottle of bourbon.
Yeah.
And then it gets off the ship and it's a $150
So
bottle
okay,
of
so
bourbon.
now how much was our Old Forester?
$20.99.
Right, that's right. It's pretty workmanlike, good, serviceable.
And this excellent
bourbon.
example of whiskey is what?
$75.
Yeah, sorry.
See?
Yeah.
Worth every penny in my fucking book.
Now,
Well,
now,
worth every penny that Chris Smith spent because I would never spend that much on bourbon.
Yeah.
Now,
but that's fine.
I've been to the Jefferson's quote unquote distillery,
Yes.
and they don't distill.
No,
Really?
they don't.
No, they just buy.
They're an MGD. They use Midwest Grain Distilleries.
I don't know who they use, but they
Right,
buy their
exactly.
own. They
Yeah.
buy it in bulk. They
Yeah.
bottle it up,
Yeah.
send it out.
Yeah, but-
or
Wow.
they've got cherry cask They got sherry cask bourbons, but they're not doing any distilling. They're just buying over it.
But as very many,
this one does have a bottle number.
right? And as many other people have successfully said, I'm on a boat, bitch.
I'm just not sure that, I mean, normally you don't introduce motion into the mellowing process. I mean, don't bourbon barrels sit there for a long time and just age in place?
That's why they have no personality. They're stale, dude. You need that
not true.
rock.
That's
and,
not true. The bourbon barrels are moved from the bottom. They're moved up slowly up to the top of the rack house and then brought back down.
But I think
years.
what John's saying is they're not continually sloshing back.
I mean, are they supposed to slosh back and forth?
There's some elements in the wood that you maybe don't want to have in your bourbon that you can get out of the wood by sloshing it around.
Okay.
Is that why they burn them? Do they?
That's why they char them.
Char 'em,
It just depends on how sloshed you want to get.
right.
Now, the interesting thing between the two is that drinking these two different bourbons, you know that I love Wild Turkey 101. Like, that's one of my favorite industrial standby go-to bourbons forever. And the Old Forester's right there. I mean, that tastes so much like Wild Turkey, it's ridiculous.
It's made by the same company.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not surprising. I would love that because that is absolutely one of my favorite drinks. So, that's great.
But this of corn and rubbers.
This
Oh my God.
You're mashing in with real corn harvested from the sewage plant. You've heard of peaberry coffee? He has peaberry whiskey.
Yeah, but you know what? This is just this whiskey is far superior.
I can taste the biscuits in that.
I can taste gunpowder and sodomy.
I'm the one that said just grab them by the biscuits. Yeah.
Sodomy geese.
Yeah. That is, I mean, and that is funny that that there's that much real estate, that much money between these two bottles.
Yeah.
So like if an oak plank was shattered by a cannonball and a shard shot through your mouth and lodged in your mouth, it would maybe taste a little bit like what the ocean does.
Yeah. I'm getting a little Captain Jack Sparrow from this.
I'm getting wafts of scurvy and
if you smell this, if you smell it, it's like somebody hasn't bathed in like 6 weeks and they've been on a boat. So it's fucking beautiful.
You need another blast of the bourbon there.
Yeah, that's definitely what I need. 6 a.m. is coming so quickly, dude. It's ridiculous.
What is your keys?
That's why I ride
that Uber that I took. He's great.
Yeah, he's
He
good.
got my shit all the way to the gate.
He's going to tow my bike all the way home. It's going to be awesome.
I don't know how it happened that when I got out of my hotel room, my van was there. That guy was magical.
It's a mystery. We should get the guy from Ancient Aliens to look into this.
That guy was great. That was the best Uber ever. Because not only did he bring me home, but he brought my van home too. Yeah.
Excellent.
That was one of those nights, man. That was one of those nights.
You deserved it, though. That was a great trip. Congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
looked
It was a lot
really
of fun.
fun.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens when we do it next year.
Yes.
We're going to have to massage this trip a lot because...
Is there a tentative date yet?
No, we're going to have to be careful because the reason we had to do it early is they're going to the Sun Road, which is in Glacier National Park. Once it snows there, the road's closed. Now, it has snowed twice already, but they didn't close the road. And the road has closed as early as like September 21st, September 22nd. And looking at the average for the past 30 years,
Sounds like George Jetson.
October 7th or October 8th seems to be the magic number. Like getting there before October 8th is a really smart thing to do. Now, this year we were unseasonably warm, and so I don't think the road's going to close for a few more weeks yet. But that doesn't mean a weird blizzard couldn't pop up and just shut that fucker down. Because when you get there and you see it, you'll understand why they can't plow it.
Right.
You'll understand why they just close it.
Well, I've been in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I've been in Flagstaff.
Yep.
In the summer, like in August, and it starts snowing. I mean,
I said the worst
a long
blizzard.
time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was granted it was a long time ago, but we were in Flagstaff, and it's snowing in August.
Yeah,
so
it is a very strange place. Weather there can happen and change very fucking quickly, and that's one of those things you have to be prepared for. So doing a car trip, I don't want to do the car trip in July because national parks, when kids are off school, are fucking jammed up. And if you ever look at any videos, I shot a video in Yosemite, dash cam video, of me making a run of Yosemite where I made the whole run in the van and never stopped. Like, so once I got out of the tunnels, it was smooth sailing. I never had to stop. And that's almost unheard of, because really what a Yosemite is, unfortunately, it's turned into a wonderful place to drive your car. Well, that turns into a 9,000 car pileup as you're trying to go through this beautiful piece of serene nature.
Right.
And that's where it sucks. I mean, like, you don't go to these things so you can sit in a 7-hour traffic jam.
Right.
Well, that's a big part of it when you go there during the summertime when the kids are out of school. I went there when the kids are all back in school and it's COVID. So none of that park shit is open. It's less desirable to go. And I can do things like, you know, a full pull, like getting it and getting from the tunnels to the end of the park in one shot without having to stop because of 900 different things. And usually those are RV related things, or like people getting out, like I gotta stop because I can take a picture of this eagle or something. And then it, you know, ties up traffic.
Get run over by the buffalo.
So I have a question for you. So I mean, I know you've been doing this for 20 plus years, right? But when you leave on these things, and I know like Renee is awesome, and James is awesome, and Sparky's awesome. You have great people working for you.
Oh yeah.
But
is there a question here?
No, yeah, I'm saying like, how does it feel to be away from the shop? Because you don't do a lot of other things besides the shop, except for when you go on these trips, right?
Yeah, that's my
So
world.
how does that feel to be away?
It used to be really tough. So it used to be really hard for me to leave, and I would panic and freak out all the time. And then James and Renee are so good.
Yeah.
But they will actually take it the other direction. So they will go out of their way to not call me. So like I'm not joking. If there was a fire here, it would have to be a pretty substantial fire for them to call me.
They'd handle it.
Yeah. And so very rarely will they call me about anything. They respect my private time. And likewise, when they're on vacation too, we respect that too, because everybody here works really hard.
Right.
So we do try to make sure that when we're out fucking off and having our vacation, that our people respect that. And they do a great job of insulating me from the worries of the shop.
Right, but you're still the owner, and
I got a 1-star review on Tuesday. So like, I left on Monday, delivered a bike on Monday, delivered a car on Tuesday, and then Tuesday or Wednesday night I was on the road and I've got Wi-Fi and I downloaded my mail and I had a 1-star Google review.
Oh, geez.
And I was this 1-star review and I was like, oh shit. So I sent James a message, Renee a message that says like, hey, can anybody tell me about this? We got a 1-star review. Well, it turns out it was a guy that we hadn't touched his bike since 2011. He gave us a 1-star review in 2011 because he brought in a piece of shit Suzuki, like an 83 Suzuki, that had 19 problems. And ultimately, he told us he needed a tune-up. And then when we got to like the 5th problem, we were like, no, you're trying to lie to us. Like you're putting us in position so we can be the bad guy. So ultimately, I was like, I'm delivering your bike back to your house at no charge. Well, I delivered the bike back to his house and I'd forgotten the key. So I'd forgotten the key back at the shop, so I delivered the bike to his house, but I had to mail him the key. Well, he thought we were trying to be sneaky or something, but realistically, we just didn't want to work on his bike.
Yeah, right.
And he left us a 1-star review back then, too. But for some reason, somebody must have kicked his cage, and 9 years later, he decided he needed to leave us another 1-star review.
So that was a super hardcore Harley guy in leather pants, leather jacket, leather vest over the leather jacket.
Yeah.
Listening to Miley Cyrus's "Party in the USA."
Yeah, I heard that
as he went by. That was awesome. As you were talking about this great thing,
exactly. But
super soft.
That is super soft.
Super soft.
That is fucking 10 ply. Yeah, that is 10 ply right.
But I always wondered. I just wondered because I know how. I don't even like when I had my business and like do whatever. It's hard to leave. And
it used to be hard for me to leave, and I used to hate going to scooter rallies and stuff and going to do the fun stuff because I was like, oh, the shop. And there was a period of time when I would not go to the events and I would stay at the shop because I didn't want to miss the opportunity. But I've become more secure, and I've also become more jaded. So it's like, if you want to buy a bike, you'll do it under my terms. And if that doesn't work for you, fuck off.
The older you get,
the more you don't give a fuck.
And that's true.
Like, you don't care if you're fat and you're walking around in your underwear. Nobody gives a, you don't give a shit.
I tell my wife all the time.
That's a great analogy.
It is.
I tell
her. When you're young, you're like, well, I can't do this. I got to go to diet before summer.
Well,
you know, it's like,
no, I've really, in these last 20 years of my life, I have really developed a very good don't give a fuck gene. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I don't give a fuck about anything.
It's just more
good. And when you hit that, it's the greatest day of your life.
Yeah.
When you hit the fucking I don't give a fuck.
And my wife will get really, upset about stuff at her job and stuff, and I'll just be like, well, you know what? A lot of this could be taken care of if you just didn't care.
You just gave your balls a time.
They say there's a whole video series on YouTube about people that quit their job, but they have to work 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, this is the greatest 2 weeks of my life.
Yeah, because you're leaving.
And you don't give a fuck at all.
Yeah.
And like some of these people they're not even being rude or they're not being awful.
No.
But it's just that freedom of not giving a fuck.
Right.
And if you can apply that to life, you're doing fucking good, man.
It is a nice thing too, though. When I do the trips and stuff like that, a big part of the trips for me is getting away from my phone and getting away from technology and going on a long walk. And I love going on long walks. I love going, as much as people know that I don't like to run or exercise, I love to fuck off.
Yeah.
What's that?
In the park.
Yeah.
As long as you can walk at your own pace, you're happy.
Exactly. And I love walking for a couple 3 miles and then stop. And I'll have a beef stick or something, or I'll eat a gummy bear, and not medicinal, just a regular gummy bear.
Oh, I'd have all the medicinal.
Well, that's the funny thing is this whole week, like I didn't smoke any cigarettes. The only time I drank was at the Undertow. So I barely had any liquor. I didn't have any cigarettes.
No detox at all? Or?
No, that's pretty much it. That's it. I'm more of a binge and purge drinker. I'm not like hey, I got to have 3 drinks a day to keep me happy. No, I'm not that way. I tend to be like, no drinks at all for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And then 5 or 6 really good drinks.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and then no drinks at all for 3 or 4 days. Yeah. So I'm very much a binge and purge drinker. That's very, very easy for me. But it is funny. It's like normally these trips would be like 9 tiki bars. I'd be on a 10-day trip. That's 10 tiki bars.
Right.
Yeah. You're like, you're driving 200 miles out of your way to go to a tiki bar? Yep. I did. I went from Flagstaff to Phoenix to go to the Undertow.
Right. But
it's totally worth it.
You were also in what, if you're religious, you call it God's country.
Right.
If you're not, you call it the universe's fucking armpit,
country,
like whatever.
Exactly.
So that's a high in itself. Like,
it is.
Just seeing that.
Seeing that kind of shit is just magical. Yeah. And you know what I did discover is that at no point did I wish I was on a motorcycle.
Wow. Yeah. Really?
Yeah. And I know that's going to freak out a lot of fucking people.
Right.
Because there is not a single motorcycle I've ever owned that I can sleep on. And that was the magical thing about this trip was I'm just like driving along and I was like, fuck, man. I'm getting tired.
Challenge accepted.
And sleep on. I put my fucking van.
He's gonna have a purple mattress on the monkey.
I put my van in park. I got out of the van. I stretched my legs. I looked around at nature's splendor around me. I was like, "This is amazing."
So how was the light? There's no light pollution, right?
Nothing.
So you got to see the whole fucking universe.
The whole goddamn universe.
Yeah.
I saw Uranus. It was magical.
I apologize for everybody. I'm sorry.
I could squint. I could just see Uranus. But it was so good. And I was like, this is great. I opened up all the windows in the van and I took a giant shit on the other side of a ridge. I walked over.
Please tell me it was like a 700-foot drop.
It was green. I have no idea why it was green, but I proved green. I leaned against a tree that I don't know, what animal leaned against it before me. But I leaned against a tree. I had a handful of baby wipes. I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I took a giant shit.
Was there a bear trying to hawk you Charmin?
Yo, man, you got a square? Hook a brother up. And I loved it. And when I got back to the van, I literally opened up the van doors, and there is this bed that is perfect. I mean, it's perfect in every way. It's a big, beautiful, elevated bed, and I can look out the windows in any direction and see awesomeness and nature's splendor. Come on, man. What part of... And like, I've done this before on motorcycles, but it always involves setting up too small of a tent,
right,
on not enough of an air mattress, with not enough sleeping bag, right, and generally being miserable. Well, when you have an entire van with you, you can bring all your stuff.
Right.
I got my little rapid boil coffee maker thing for the morning, my little jet boil, and like I've got all my good shit that I want to have with me, so I can wake up in the morning and be like, oh, what am I going to have for breakfast this morning? Okay, well, I could either have a protein bar and drive it to the next town and get proper food, or I can make something that I have here And it's a van, so it's not even like it sucks. Like campers.
I was going to say, like an RV is great and everything, but you can't go as fast. It's like you almost have too much with you. It's great to go and set up and stay there for a while. But you're traveling light. You just got the bare necessities.
I'm running 85 miles an hour down the road. I can park anywhere and nobody thinks I'm camping. Nobody pays any attention to me because I don't have signs on the side of my van that says I'm sleeping in it.
Right.
And I can generally just pull in anywhere and go to sleep.
Boondock all day.
It's fantastic. And realistically, I have no complaints about that. And as much as I love riding motorcycles, this is one of those great arguments where it'd be like the best thing would be a motorcycle on the back. So like a motorcycle on the back of the van, pull in, have a great sleep, take the motorcycle off the back, go fucking ride all the curvy roads.
Fuck off all you want.
And come back and put the motorcycle back in the back of the van and go fuck off to another destination, right? I've been doing the van camping thing for a little while. I love it. I just absolutely love it. And
I don't think you'll ever feel like out of place because you have a part of home with you.
It's just real convenient. And I did that a lot on this trip where I was just like, fuck it, I'm tired. Well, do I want to, if you can do a 10-day trip and spend 2 nights in a hotel, 3 nights but I ultimately did. The third night in the hotel was a bonus because it was a $39 hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you saved, even if you did 7 days, you saved like $600-700.
My total cost.
You save the pain in the ass of having to find a hotel.
Right. Yeah.
Go there, book in, carry your stuff up to a room.
Right.
You can just stop and fall asleep right now.
My total costs on the trip, everything. Food, gas, lodging, everything on the trip for 10 days. My total cost was $911.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
So $911. So it cost me $911. Now, here's what's funny is I haven't figured out my tolls yet. But that'll add into it, but it's not much because the only thing tolls was the Minneapolis to Cleveland. But so here's what's funny though is I got paid $700 to transport the car to Oklahoma City, and I got paid $250 to transport the scooter to Columbus.
Oh, so you
that's
paid
$950.
Yeah,
and then I picked up the Fireball in Minneapolis, and I'm going to transport that to Connecticut, and that's $450. So I'm making money on this one.
Yeah.
So, but it's pretty good. But yeah, I do love that. I did a trip one time in a Honda Civic Wagovan. If anybody knows what a Honda Civic Wagovan is, it's a Honda Civic with a high top.
Oh.
And the seats fold remarkably flat in that.
Oh, yeah.
And that is another good road trip, like cheap road trip vehicle because you have 36 miles to the gallon and you can sleep in it awesomely. It's like a really good sleeping vehicle. So that's another one. If you want to take a cheap road trip, find a vehicle that has a perfectly flat sleeping surface.
Yep.
Station wagon, minivan, high ace. Exactly. Yeah. That stuff, having a perfectly flat sleeping surface in the back is gold because you can just pull in anywhere and it's like perfect. Yeah.
So before we wrap this up, we have a very serious topic to talk about. This is like more than the presidential election, and this is very serious.
Yeah.
In 2 more podcasts,
300.
300 is coming up.
Yeah, 300.
And so we've had people. I've had several people contact me and said, "I will drive 9 hours to come and hang out with you guys."
Yeah, I think that it's only fair,
right,
that we should do something special for our 300th podcast.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
Yeah, I think it's important. So
certainly need a good bottle.
Well, or 3. So
and I think this one needs to be on a Friday.
Lounge.
298.
I think the 300th needs to be on a Friday because we need a Saturday to recover. Yeah.
So October 8th, that's now.
Right.
It's 298.
Right.
The Ocho.
So next week.
Right. So next week is going to be
299.
299. So
old strategy, Pepper.
Bold strategy. So what is that going to be? That's going to be it's
Halloween
going to be just
weekend?
before Halloween. Just before Halloween.
God,
right?
that's just perfect.
Yeah, because so the 299 will be on the 15th.
Okay.
Right.
So that means that 15 plus 7 is what? That's a lot of math.
22.
22.
Yeah, 22.
That's close enough to Halloween.
I think so.
So we should probably mandatory costume.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mandatory costume.
Costumes, yeah.
Mandatory bring some kind of alcohol that's not a beer.
Right. We'll do it here at the shop.
Yeah. And if you want it, we need a RSVP though. We need to know who's coming.
Yeah, we do need to know who's coming.
So if you're listening to this and you want to come,
mattresses in the shop.
Yeah. But we need to know. We can't have just people show up and be a part of this.
I mean, why don't we? I'm not saying we have to do this, but wouldn't it be nice to just go someplace and camp and just stay there?
Oh,
well, I mean, if we use my property in Oberlin, we could do the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, if the weather.
That's a really good idea. Yep. The weather's.
We should make it. We should make it special.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But the house, you have the house there too.
The house is a shithole.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, but it's still a shithole. You can put a tent in or something, like whatever.
And it's Halloween.
Right.
Is it spooky?
I'm not going in that shithole.
Well, but and people could. Then they could have the option of sleeping in their cars or sleeping in a tent or whatever.
You can sleep in the house too. I don't care.
Well, let's announce this next week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out next week.
We'll figure it
Let's
out.
sleep at the plant.
The shit plant. Yeah. Oh, party at the shit plant, dude.
Sorry, can't handle it, dude. No factory challenges.
There's no smell. There's no smell.
What could happen?
Yeah. What could
possibly happen?
COVID 2.0.
Fall off an 800-foot cliff.
COVID becomes a creature.
I watched Dogma, and that was seriously, it's a shit monster.
Yeah.
So okay. So we'll talk a little bit more about it, but yeah, for 300 we should do something special.
Definitely
we should do that.
special.
And whether we do a camping podcast, because it'll be cold. We might do shooting. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we can't shoot out there.
We can.
Yes.
That was the answer to the affirmative.
Can I suggest one thing though?
Yeah.
We will film the whole thing with not only the GoPro but cameras, and I'll bring a friend,
and
we'll make it into a special.
All right,
we'll make it into a full special.
We'll also ride around both the two properties next to each other. The other one's vacant.
Yeah.
Ride all the way around all the properties.
Okay.
Oh, mini bike racing.
Mini bikes.
Oh, mini bike racing.
So, Cinch, can you bring Jimmy Hanlon's girlfriend?
Which one you want? Let me tell you this way: if you watch those shows, there's one girl that if you have enough cocaine, she will show up. I'm just telling you right now.
My God. Yeah. Well, so I think that's a good idea. I think that's a decent idea for a good burner for the 300.
I think, yeah. We have to. That's a monumental thing.
It is monumental.
Yeah.
It's a lot of years. So
Yeah.
It's an old podcast. All right. Well, cool. I think that's it.
Well, we need boys to come back to their microphone.
So we can sing us out.
All right.
Yeah. I love the way I love the way three of us, 50% of our podcast migrated to the fire. To the burn barrel. When I was doing that earlier, James was like, "Do you think you're going to need that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're going to need a burn barrel.
It's winter. Yeah.
It's officially winter. Yeah, up until 3 days ago, that had oil in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, today it had oil in it. I think.
It did.
That's what helped
I made a
start
bit
the
of a
fire.
mess.
Yeah. No,
I made a bit of a mess making our burn barrel today. I love how the Bel Ray has stayed on the side though.
Oh, it's great.
That's
It's no longer
fantastic.
blue though.
No, the blue is gone.
It's gone.
It's been de-blued. Yeah, it's been.
And we all
de-blued.
have cancer now. But besides
we're
that,
okay.
it's great.
It's all right. It's a good burn barrel. It's a good solid burn barrel. Anybody else got anything else?
No.
Fuck it. Ride fast and take chances.
Oh,